Chapter 644. However, the person who was sprayed all over did not have the mood to turn around and scold him. Instead, he looked at Chen Guang on the stage with his mouth wide open and muttered, "After all this time, you've been acting cool for so long, and in the end, you're going to blow yourself up too. What day is it today? Is it trendy to blow yourself up?" Breaking news, shocking breaking news. Jin Shiryue's boyfriend had publicly admitted to having a relationship with another woman. There was a sudden clap of thunder on the ground. Were you going to blow up the heavens and earth? Even if Shuo Wei said these words 10,000 times, it wouldn't be as fierce and intense as you saying it yourself, all right? At that moment, many of the reporters only felt that, based on how awesome this guy was today, they would obediently give him their heads off, not to mention scolding him to death. Thinking about other celebrities, even if they were truly in love, wouldn't they refuse to admit it even if they were beaten to death and were beaten to death, let alone cheating and cheating? Perhaps they finally couldn't hide it anymore, or perhaps they were waiting until they were about to get married, so they hid it and said, "We," to announce it to the world. What's more, their children were about to graduate from primary school, but they were still single and unmarried. Looking at our Pokemon, Chen Guang, from the way he had behaved at the beginning of the day, whether it was making Zhuo Wei blow himself up on the spot in front of a live broadcast, slapping the reporters' faces, or suddenly throwing out shocking news. Really, this person's train of thought was completely different from normal celebrities. He didn't play by the rules, and he didn't have any. He was like a mudslide in the entertainment industry. As reporters, we don't admire many people, but bro, your style is really different from everyone we've seen. Looking at Chen Guang's incomparably solemn and serious expression, whether it was the reporters present or the audience in front of their televisions, this was the only thought that popped up in their minds. Cheating on someone in such a fresh and refined manner, there really wasn't a second person in history. Chen Guang could totally guess what these people were thinking, but he didn't mind. In his heart, he only silently thought that if he completely erased this matter today, he would not be able to face his own conscience. It wasn't difficult to cover things up. All he had to do was follow Zhuo Wei's words and lie in front of the audience and reporters. He had to use his world-class acting skills to tell them that he had nothing to do with Zhuo Jingxi. Then, he pretended to shout, "I have a very good relationship with Jin Shiryue, thank you for your concern," and so on. This matter was completely over. It was very simple for him to do all of this. Even if he didn't do anything now, it would be enough. After all, after such an incident, no news media would dare to pry into his private life in the future. Even if they discovered something or captured something, they would have to carefully consider whether they had the courage and guts to self-destruct on the spot like Zhuo Wei. After all, this guy held grudges beyond imagination. Then, the sun would rise as usual tomorrow, and Chen Guang's identity as Jin Shiryue's boyfriend would continue. Zhuo Jingxi, who really had that relationship with him, could only hide in the dark and continue living her life as a thief without identity or status. Even if she said that she didn't care, that this was her fate, that she had to bear with it, that she used a carefree smile to hide the sadness and pain in her heart, it was all meaningless. The human heart couldn't be lied to. Chen Guang always said that others pretended to be ignorant, but in fact, wasn't he the same? How could he not understand Zhuo Jingxi's thoughts? So, this seemingly simple lie, he couldn't do it. There was clearly something going on between him and Zhuo Jingxi, and there was clearly nothing between him and Jin Shiryue, but now, he had to say that Zhuo Jingxi was someone who had nothing to do with him. He really couldn't do it. He could imagine how depressed and self-abased Zhuo Jingxi must have felt while watching the live broadcast. Then, when she turned around, she would have to force a smile to comfort herself. If he really did as Zhuo Wei said, and cut off all ties without any psychological burden, then he wouldn't be a man. Perhaps some people would think that Chen Guang was stupid. But Chen Guang didn't care. In the world, he only had to live up to his own conscience. I've already done it, so I have to take responsibility as a man. Yes. I like Xue Jingxi. I care about her a lot, I care about her a lot. I'm currently pursuing her. Swallowing his saliva, Chen Guang said in a heavy tone. This was the most suitable way he came up with after careful consideration. It could not only give Xue Jingxi, who was far away, a reasonable status, but also not let her get caught up in too much public opinion. After all, she used to be his teacher, and his current identity was special enough. Xue Jingxi was a girl, after all. If a man publicly said that he had sex with her, even though it was true, it would still cause great damage to her reputation. Maybe in the future, she would get tired of being his mistress and want to seek a more comfortable life. Therefore, he would shoulder all the problems on his own shoulders. This was good, all the problems were his own problems. Of course, Xue Jingxi didn't do anything wrong. A woman being one-sidedly loved by another man, what did she do wrong? Mr. Chen, is what you said true? Have you carefully considered what you said? After all, this fact is a bit. At this time, a veteran reporter who was sitting quite close to the front stood up. When he asked the question, he desperately winked at Chen Guang, perhaps reminding Chen Guang to restrain himself and quickly think of a way to cover up what he just said. Chen Guang interrupted him, I have carefully considered it, and I am responsible for my own words and actions. But not everyone was so kind, after all, everyone wanted to make a big news. Mr. Chen, may I ask why you like Xue Jingxi? According to the previous reports, although Xue Jingxi is indeed beautiful, she is just an ordinary woman. Compared to Jin Shiyue. Chen Guang asked him in return, do you have to find a reason to like someone? Brother, looking at your age, haven't you been in a relationship before? Are you in an arranged marriage? Mr. Chen, did you communicate with Jin Shiyue beforehand when you announced this publicly? Have you thought about the impact this will have? Chen Guang answered, I told Jin Shiyue beforehand, and I know what impact it will have, but Jin Shiyue is also innocent in this matter. I will give everyone a more detailed explanation later. Quiet, everyone, be quiet. Chen Guang. Although I am a reporter, I have always been a loyal fan of the left and right-hand man. Your behavior is shameless. Despicable. Despicable. Even if you send me a lawyer's letter, I can't take it anymore. I won't do it anymore. I just can't stand you. I'm going to get justice for my goddess. A young man lost control of his emotions. He looked like a real fan, but before he could rush to Chen Guang's side, he was pressed to the ground by the bodyguard sent by Lu Chao. Chen Guang wasn't angry. This person had lost control of his emotions, but his intentions were good. Xue Jingxi, who was in front of the computer, also lost control of her emotions. She couldn't say how proud she was, but there was an inexplicable warmth that suddenly emerged from the depths of her heart. Without warning, it filled her entire heart. She never dreamed that Chen Guang would go this far. She even felt that she wasn't worthy. But what was done was done. Chen Guang had already said it, and it was impossible to take it back. Xue Jingxi even felt that if she were in Chen Guang's shoes, she wouldn't have said it on such an occasion. But he still did it. He knew what the consequences would be, but he still did it. Even though they were separated by a computer screen and a long network cable, Xue Jingxi could read his heart through his eyes. I just don't want you to feel wronged, that's all. This time, she cried like a pear blossom in the rain, but there was no sadness. Other than being touched and grateful, there was nothing else. All right, behave yourself. I haven't finished speaking. What are you guys rushing for? On the screen, Chen Guang was facing the public's criticism, but his expression didn't change. He was still very calm. Next, I'm going to say something else, and it's also very important. First of all, I'd like to apologize on behalf of Jin Shuriwe and myself. We're sorry, we lied to you, we lied to all of you. What's going on? What the hell? You're not done. Bro, why don't you just write a long article and say it all in one go? You're torturing me with your big breaths. Now that you've admitted that you cheated, let's see how you're going to clear your name. Whatever you say, you're a heartless man anyway. Whether it was the reporters or the audience, they couldn't understand how Chen Guang was going to clear his name. The development of the whole matter had completely exceeded their expectations. But Jiang Yage understood the moment she heard it. Her mouth opened wider and wider as she pointed at Chen Guang on the computer screen. After a while, she reacted. I feel that something is wrong with you, Sister Shuriwe. Is this guy planning to distance himself from you at the press conference? Jin Shuriwe narrowed her eyes fiercely. It's like this, and it's about time. What time is this? What time is this? How can he be like this? Isn't this making things difficult for me? How am I going to look for him in the future? Jiang Yage was anxious. She subconsciously wanted to pick up her phone and call Chen Guang. She wanted to use the matter of Chen Yu to force him to give in. But looking at Chen Guang's firm expression on the screen, Jiang Yage finally couldn't muster up the courage. Instead, she shrank back into her chair. Her face was full of confusion and panic. She didn't know what to say. Finally, after a short uproar, Chen Guang made a gesture of pressing his hand down. The venue gradually quieted down. He slowly said, I think many people know about my lawsuit with Gokyo University's vice president, the leading figure in the domestic economics field, Su Lijing. This time, there were also many old scholars who jumped out to say that I was wrong. This matter started because of this. Then, Chen Guang used concise words to roughly describe the situation he was in when he and Su Lijing were at the peak of the dispute. It was also at this time that Jin Shuriwe took the initiative to let him pretend to be her boyfriend. She used her social connections to make Su Lijing fearful, so that he could be safe after losing the lawsuit. So, actually, I, Jin Shuriwe, and Jiang Yage are very close friends. It's also because we are of different genders. Otherwise, it would be correct to say that we are best buddies or sisters. We talk about everything, and they have helped me a lot. This matter has indeed caused a very bad impact on Jin Shuriwe. I personally apologize here, and I also apologize to all of Jin Shuriwe's fans for causing you trouble. But, as she and I are completely innocent. Ha! Pretending to be a couple. Didn't the two of you kiss before the Beijing concert? The reporter who was Jin Shuriwe's fan was still pinned to the ground, and he straightened his neck and asked. Chen Guang, on the other hand, blushed. I'm even more sorry, but we are really not lovers. Jin Shuriwe will probably release a statement to clarify in a while. This matter will end here, okay? This guy actually cried tears of joy. I knew it. I knew that Goddess Jean would not be so easily wooed away by someone. Ha 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 ha. This guy was crazy with joy. Not only him, but Jin Shuriwe's fans in front of their televisions and computers also heaved a long sigh of relief. The truth of the matter was actually like this. This was really a twist and turn of events, and a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. As expected of the idol that he had liked for so many years. She was really loyal to her buddies, and she was really honest. It was really rare to see someone like her helping others to such an extent. She was the most honest beauty in the entertainment industry, all right? China's best friend, and China's best friend were all referring to Jin Shuriwe. Even when the two of them announced their relationship back then, some of the fans who had turned from fans to haters and fans to passers-by had changed their minds. Celebrity love made people jealous and disgusted, but this kind of courage to sacrifice for a brother was a true friendship in this materialistic society. It was definitely a magic weapon to attract fans. Of course, not everyone was only happy for Jin Shirue. Some felt that Goddess Shirue had sacrificed too much. After all, she was a female artist at her age. Although it had been 10 years since her debut, she was only 20 years old. She had always had an image of a pure and innocent girl. Her love affair this time would definitely have a far-reaching impact on her image as an idol. However, there were also people who said that it was the goddess's own decision. Didn't everyone like Goddess Jean because of her honest character, which was soft on the outside but hard on the inside? If they did not become a fan of such a person, who else would they be a fan of? Chen Guang's fans, on the other hand, were not very happy. After all, they used to be quite proud that their idol was their goddess's boyfriend. Now that they heard him say it himself, they were still a little disappointed. However, these die-hard fans of Chen Guang quickly adjusted their emotions. Our brother all-rounder was not a useless person. Our brother all-rounder was the best at everything he did. He could become famous without relying on women, alright? Our brother all-rounder was not like those hyped-up internet celebrities. They relied on their own abilities to become famous. The reporters in the venue were a little stunned. When Chen Guang mentioned Su Lijing's matter, everyone present was from the media. They had followed this hot topic in the past. When the old matter was brought up again, they immediately recalled it and were speechless. Not only was Chen Guang an honest boy, but his right-hand man was also similar to him. Indeed, they were not from the same family. Chapter 645. Then, today's press conference has come to an end. Thank you for your support. Yes, on behalf of Zhuo Wei, I would also like to thank everyone. After all, he was the one who sent the invitation letter. Oh right. Please remember to receive the lawyer's letter when you go back. If possible, I don't want the lawyer's letter to become a court subpoena. Everyone's report must be factual. Chen Guang blinked, turned around, and left. He had finally said it out in front of everyone. He felt light and carefree. Even when he walked, he felt as if he was walking on air. Did men care about their pride? There was no such thing. Who would be willing to carry the reputation of relying on a woman all day long? Seriously, this guy didn't even forget to threaten us before he left. A reporter in the press conference hall muttered softly. His colleague beside him asked in return, "You're not convinced?" Continue to fight him head-on. The reporter who complained earlier shook his head like a rattle drum. I didn't take the wrong medicine. I think so too. You don't look like you're crazy. Forget it, he was in the right to begin with. Now that the matter of cheating had been explained clearly, he and Jin Shirue were only friends, so cheating wasn't valid at all. But to be honest, I quite admire him. If it were me, even if it was a fake couple, I would still continue acting. It's not hard to find beautiful women, but Jin Shirue is a goddess. That's why Chen Guang is Chen Guang after all. You're just a lousy writer. That's true. He's so carefree. I really can't be envious. As the live broadcast signal was cut, the audience in front of their computers and televisions finally finished watching the drama. The aftermath of the incident was not over yet. It was still slowly brewing. But without a doubt, as time passed, the various media outlets would issue clarifications and apologies one after another. The negative impact that Zhuo Wei single-handedly directed on Chen Guang would gradually fade away. Perhaps a long time later, the unscrupulous marketing accounts would make a fuss about it again. But it would not be able to stir up any big waves. Of course, those who wanted to continue consuming Chen Guang had to carefully weigh their own capabilities and think clearly about whether they could withstand his revenge. After all, He was so narrow-minded that he made a list of all the people and companies that followed him to defame him. He even threatened to send a lawyer's letter to them one by one. Moreover, he was not afraid of the new generation of impoverished celebrities who stubbornly resisted him. He was really a clean stream in the modern information society. This fellow was simply poisonous. He was like a dog-skin plaster that was rude and unreasonable to the extreme. Some people were happy, some people were worried, and naturally, some people were worried. The same thing, in the eyes and ears of different people, would have different feelings. Some were scared, some were touched, some were sad, and some were furious. Far away in a villa in Yanjin, old man Jean slammed the table with a livid face. Nonsense. What nonsense? How could such a thing be falsified? How could this be a joke? Are you trying to throw away this old face of mine? Old Jiang next to him covered his mouth and chuckled. He liked to see his old buddy fuming. Old Jean, your son-in-law is going to fly away. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. Even you, old Jiang, are laughing at me. Old man Jean suddenly clutched his chest and couldn't stand still. The other old men panicked. Old Jean, don't scare me. Old Jiang was the first to rush to old man Jin's side. He took out a calming pill from his pocket and fed it to old man Jean. He didn't have this problem himself. The medicine he had on him was for old man Jean. Old man Jin's face turned red after he took the medicine. Didn't this Chin kid say that he is still chasing that Zhua? Zhua something. Zhua Jingxi. Old Jiang reminded him. That's right. He has a one-sided crush and she didn't even say yes. Why should my granddaughter admit defeat? Shiyue is so good, how is she not good enough for him? A man chasing a woman is separated by a mountain, a woman chasing a man is separated by a layer of gauze. I, old Jean, am not convinced. I will not suffer such a loss. I don't care, I'm not going to accept this. Go after her. Shiyue has to get him back. This is a child's matter. Why are we adults getting involved? Old Jiang was quite unhappy. In fact, he wanted Jiang Yage to secretly make a move. Old man Jean sat down dejectedly and sighed. You haven't seen how my precious granddaughter talks about Chen Guang. I watched her grow up. How can I not know her? I just casually complimented Chen Guang and her eyes lit up like little beads. When she said Chen Guang's name, her voice was as sweet as a Minnan person's. The nanny at home also mentioned to me that she would say Chen Guang's name in her sleep. How are they pretending? My precious granddaughter is really moved by them. You've only seen Shiyue once. You don't know what she's like when she's stubborn. This time, Chen Guang caused such a ruckus. Based on my understanding of her, even if she loses her teeth and bleeds, she'll just swallow it. She'll be stuck for the rest of her life. As her grandfather, I can't stand it anymore. I didn't interfere with her in the past because of her stubborn temper. But this time, if I don't give her a push, she'll really admit defeat. I'm not interfering with her. I'm giving her a reason to make up her mind, old Jiang. Old man Jean had walked more bridges than Jean Shiyue, not to mention that he's also someone who has been in the underworld for a long time. Hence, he was good at reading people's expressions. It's just that Jean Shiyue and Chen Guang were fine, so he did not interfere. But now that things had become like this, he couldn't sit still. On the other side, Jean Shiyue and Jiang Yage were still looking at each other. Jiang Yage was caught off guard. Although Jean Shiyue was mentally prepared, she still couldn't accept it in the depths of her heart. Jean Shiyue opened her Weibo in a daze. There were countless comments from fans. Most of them praised her for being an upright person who would do anything for her friends. Now that everyone knew the truth, she did lie to her fans. Other than a few extreme fans, there weren't many people who scolded her. Looking at these people's encouragement, Jin Shiryue's grip on her phone tightened. She really wanted to tell everyone that she wasn't as selfless as they made her out to be. Her feelings for Chen Guang weren't as pure as he made them out to be. At this moment, she even felt regret in her heart. If she knew about this earlier, she would have been more courageous and told Chen Guang her true feelings. That way, Chen Guang wouldn't have chosen to use his feelings for that beautiful counselor to put an end to this matter, right? But when she looked at Jiang Yage, who was sitting beside her, she held it in. She slowly suppressed her disappointment. She started typing again and again on her phone. She wanted to clarify this ridiculous relationship according to Chen Guang's words. Jiang Yage was fuming. Anyway, I'm not going to make a statement to clarify anything. This guy, don't even think about it. At this moment, Jin Shiryue's phone rang. She looked at it and her expression changed. Grandpa is calling. Jiang Yage panicked. Oh my God, they found out so quickly. The elders were the people she was most afraid of. Although she didn't know what Grandpa Jin was thinking, with her grandfather's stubborn temper, if something like this happened, he would probably hang him up and give him a good beating. Sister Shiryue's grandfather was easier to deal with, but he wasn't much better, right? I'll go over there to answer the call. Jin Shiryue got up and walked to the balcony of the suite. She was flustered and didn't know how Grandpa was going to lecture her. Grandpa, I'm sorry. I lied to you. Taking a deep breath, Jin Shiryue's voice sounded a little choked. She stood alone on the balcony and looked at the night view of London outside the window. A gentle breeze blew. In front of Old Master Jin's phone call, she couldn't help but feel sad. After speaking, Jin Shiryue fell silent and waited for Old Master Jin's thunderstorm. If this matter were to spread, it would be a disgrace to the family. Unexpectedly, after a short moment of silence, Old Master Jin suddenly flew into a rage. But the content of his rage was completely different from what Jin Shiryue had imagined. What do you have to be sorry for? Aren't you angry? Of course I'm angry. I'm about to explode from anger. Old Master Jin said fiercely. Let me tell you, I don't know what you discussed with that rascal Chin, and I don't know what the two of you thought about this matter. But I've already set my mind on him. Don't even think that he can wash his hands of this matter just because he bullied my granddaughter. Dream on. Aren't you guys stupid? What is Su Lijing? No matter how much trouble he and Su Lijing have, it's just a small matter. Is there a need for you to pretend to be his girlfriend for such a small matter? Do you think he doesn't understand that you made a mistake? That rascal is just bullying you for being honest. I won't agree to it. The more Old Master Jin spoke, the more agitated he became. Old Jin, can't lose face like this. I have to get back at him. This isn't something that can be resolved with just a few words of apology from you or him. You already have one foot in this matter and you want to leave just like that. Dream on. Jin Shiryue was anxious. But Old Man Jin flipped out again. No buts. You've already said it and admitted it after such a long time. You even kissed him on the lips at the concert. I know all about it. He can forget about trying to wash his hands of this matter just by moving his lips. Otherwise, I'll break his bones and skin him alive. This is my military pledge. I'm not joking with you. I've set my mind on him. Jin Shiryue was dumbfounded. Why did it sound like Grandpa was forcing her to be with him? But he likes. Jin Shiryue wanted to drag Zhua Jingxi into the picture again. Old Man Jin snorted. He said he likes someone else. But she doesn't like him. If he can chase someone else, you can chase him too. How could my granddaughter lose to anyone? In the past, I let you do as you please, thinking that young people should make their own decisions. But since you can't make your own decisions now, I'll help you. In any case, you have to get him back for me. Otherwise, both of you can go to the northwest to dig for coal. I'll give him a call now and let him do as he sees fit. Old Man Jean hung up the phone and heaved a sigh of relief. Shiryu, I know you're kind and won't make things difficult for others. Grandpa will help you be the bad guy today. Jean Shiryu held the phone and listened to the busy tone. She was momentarily dazed. On the other side, Chen Guang's scalp went numb when he saw the caller ID. He wasn't afraid of anyone, but he was afraid of Old Man Jean. This old man admired him very much. Now, he could sit in the position of the director of the Guangdong General Administration. Although Wen was part of the reason, Old Master Jean was also secretly adding fuel to the fire. He was trying to groom him. Old Man Jean was already so old, so he took it seriously. Grandpa Jean, shut up. Alright, I'll shut up. You still have the cheek to call me Grandpa? Listen to my explanation. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Brat, I'm telling you, this isn't over. It's definitely not over. You have to be with Shiryu. What? Old Man Jean, you can't be like this. Now you know that you can't be like this. What were you doing earlier? What were you doing when you were kissing and touching her? Now you want to go back on your words. Do you really think that I, Old Man Jean, am a pushover? Yes, you're related to the Wen family, so I can't do anything to you. You're also capable, and your training method is effective. You're also a talented person. But I, this old man, can take care of Shiryu. Anyway, I'll say it here. If you insist on going back on your words, I'll marry her off to Africa and become the wife of a tribal chief. You can repent for the rest of your life. Old Man Jean hung up the phone with Chen Guang and heaved a sigh of relief. It's finally over. The group of old men at the side looked at him and gave him a thumbs up. As expected of Old Man Jean. With just a few words, he had given his granddaughter a military order without putting her in a difficult position. At the same time, he had also given Chen Guang a wake-up call. This old man was really using the old tactics he used in the past. Brilliant, really brilliant. Sister Shiryu, what did your grandfather say? When Jean Shiryu sat back in front of the computer, Jiang Yage saw her distracted look and asked. Jean Shiryu looked blankly at Jiang Yage. Yage, Grandpa asked me to pursue Chen Guang, but he insisted on Chen Guang. Huh? Jiang Yage was dumbfounded. This is awkward. In this case, the most awkward one was Jiang Yage. Jean Shiryu also had a headache. Originally, she just wanted to pretend to be Chen Guang. Maybe she would be scolded after the matter was exposed, and her family would be angry. But she really didn't think that one day she would be forced to be with Chen Guang. Yage, this. I'm sorry. Jean Shiryu didn't know what to say. Jiang Yage's eyes were blank. It's obvious that the person who likes him is me. How can this be? Is your grandfather very serious? Jiang Yage didn't give up. Jean Shiryu nodded. Yes, very serious. Then what should we do now? Jiang Yage asked. Jean Shiryu covered her forehead. She couldn't tell whether she was secretly happy or guilty. She knew in her heart that it became like this. In the final analysis, it was because she was possessed and proposed to pretend to be a couple with him. Now, she was forced by her grandfather to pursue Chen Guang. She couldn't deceive herself deep in her heart, and she was indeed secretly happy. She had always had the mentality of being a thief, but now she was being ordered to steal. But she also felt that she was really sorry for Jiang Yage, and the guilt was real. Grandpa asked me to make a statement first and refute what Chen Guang said just now. He said that he wanted me to pursue him publicly, or he would make trouble for me and Chen Guang. Jin Shiyue sighed and said. Jiang Yage looked at Jin Shiyue's painful look, and she thought of another thing. Chapter 646. Chen Yu is Chen Guang in disguise, by Hua Ji likes Chen Yu. In order to get rid of his rival in love, he even disguised himself as a woman to seduce his rival in love. How resolute, how terrifying. Actually, big sister Shiyue, Chen Guang isn't as innocent as he claims to be. He likes you. Maybe he feels inferior, or maybe it's some other reason, or maybe it's because he caused trouble for Zhuo Wei this time, making him tired of this kind of public relationship, so he made this choice in public. But in fact, the person he really cares about should be you. Otherwise, why would he pretend to be Chen Yu, and act so well, to the point that even I, a woman, feel that Chen Yu is a perfect woman? After all, the real Chen Guang was a real man. To do this kind of thing, how much determination does he have to do it? On the other side, Jin Shiyue finally posted on Weibo. I admit that in the past, you were playing along with me. But it doesn't matter, now I'm starting to look at myself. In fact, I also lied to you. Maybe in your eyes, this feeling is fake, but to me, it's real. I was addicted to this fake love, unable to extricate myself. I almost thought it was real. Now, please let me say it again, seriously, sincerely, Chen Guang, I like you. It doesn't matter if the past is gone, I'm starting to pursue you again. You can like others, but you can't stop me from liking you. I know it's shameful for a public figure to say such words, it makes me seem crazy and irrational, maybe there will be a lot of people turning from fans to haters, but it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm only 20 years old, I also want to be like many of the characters in the past dramas, crazy for love once. Those who like me, please bless me, I won't easily admit defeat. Those who hate me, you can scold me, hate me, despise me, I don't care. Such a long paragraph, even through Weibo, the image of a woman who is crazy for love, like a moth flying into a flame, vividly appeared on the paper. The public opinion that had just settled down, once again exploded, an uproar. No one had expected that a mere press conference could be so full of twists and turns. Reversal, reversal, and reversal. They didn't even give him a chance to catch his breath. Jin Shiyue's love for Chen Guang was real. This was simply the #1 drama of the summer. Now, Jin Shiyue is going after Chen Guang publicly. If he was just an unknown celebrity, it would be understandable for him to do such a crazy thing. After all, although Chen Guang claimed to be an outsider, no one could deny his fame and influence. If she could stick to him, she would definitely become famous. But who was Jin Shiyue? She was the right-hand man of the National Idol faction. She had debuted for 10 years and had been popular for 10 years. Although she was young, she was almost at the level of a heavenly queen, and her background was unfathomable. How could she do such a thing? This scene was strange and full of twists and turns. It really made the minds of the masses, who didn't know the truth, unable to wrap their heads around it. With Jin Shiyue's qualifications, what kind of man couldn't she find? Why did she lie to Chen Guang and pretend to be in a relationship? Now that Chen Guang has clarified the matter, why did she stick to him again? Did she really have to put herself so low? Didn't she have self-respect? Only Chen Guang's fans, who were all-rounders, understood that it wasn't that Jin Shiyue was putting herself down, but that Chen Guang was really that outstanding. The entertainment reporters also hugged each other and cried bitterly. Can't we have a good day's rest? Can't you see that everyone is tired like a dead dog these days? Do you have to go through so much trouble just to hold a press conference? The clarification and apology statement had just been issued, and now you're adding so much news here. With our limited intelligence resources, we really don't know how to analyze the troublesome matter between you two, who seem to be both real and fake at the same time. The reporters didn't know how distressed Chen Guang was at this time. He held his phone and looked at the Weibo post that Jin Shiyue had just posted. In his mind, he kept thinking about old Master Jin's fierce tone just now. Sigh, something's wrong. Old Master, you can scold me to your heart's content. I'll accept it even if you beat me up. But with your attitude, you want me to take responsibility. Jin Shiyue and I clearly didn't do anything. If it was Jiang Yage's family, who had taken advantage of me so many times, saying this to me, I would also bite the bullet and accept it. But on Jin Shiyue's side, I really can't take it, okay? I'm really wronged. But he was really worried. Old Master Jin said that he wanted to marry Jin Shiyue to an African chief. Although it sounded like nonsense and science fiction, what if he was serious? That would be a great sin, and his conscience would be very apologetic. Chen Guang clutched his chest. To be honest, how can I be worthy of old Master Jin doing this? Forget it, I won't complain now. It really isn't the time to complain. His Weibo was also in an uproar. His own fans were celebrating. Our brother Quan Ning is a role model for all men. His amazing charm is so amazing that even Goddess Jean can't resist it. The female fans, on the other hand, expressed their sadness. It was already sad enough that their idol publicly confessed to someone else. Now, there was a competitor who was so perfect that it made people despair. He also openly confessed to him without any integrity. We can't compete with him. Can't we just chase after our idol happily? Sigh, it can't be helped. I can't be compared to him in all aspects. I can only use private messages to attack him. I hope that brother Quan Ning will be moved by my sincerity and flip over to my side. As for Jin Shiyue's fans, they were clearly divided into two groups. There were matchmakers who asked him not to let down Jin Shiyue's true feelings. Don't think about that female teacher of yours, how can she be compared to Goddess Jean? But there were also people who directly scolded him, asking him what kind of magic potion he had fed the goddess. They said that he was despicable, shameless, and used flowery words to deceive Jin Shiyue. Chen Guang expressed that he is very calm towards these scolding people. Moreover, there are a lot of staff at Tianguang Agency waiting in line to be banned. After all, this lousy company can't do anything other than sending lawyers letters everywhere. Helping him manage his Weibo account is also making the best use of it. Currently, Chen Guang's Weibo account only has one operating policy. Anyone who scolds him, kill them one by one. Never let go of anyone who scolds him. It's better to kill the wrong person than to let them go. There are also many onlookers watching the show. In just a short while, the attention of Chen Guang's Weibo began to rise again. But at this moment, the two people who are the most embarrassed are Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue. After Jin Shiyue posted on Weibo, the silence between the two sisters has lasted for almost 10 minutes. This is simply impossible in the past. This means that there is a gap between the two sisters. After feeling secretly happy, Jin Shiyue felt that she really can't face Jiang Yage. She remembered that she heard from Chen Guang that when the two of them were drowned in the water, at that moment of life and death, Jiang Yage even gave her life to her. But she actually did such a thing. Sigh, at this time, Jiang Yage is also staring at her phone. On it is the Weibo that Jin Shiyue just posted. Her eyes are empty, and no one knows what she is thinking. I'm sorry. Suddenly, the two of them said at the same time. Jin Shiyue is stunned. She doesn't understand why Jiang Yage would apologize to her. Jin Shuiue decided to tell the truth. She really has enough of this feeling of being a thief. She feels that she has betrayed Jiang Yage. Even if Jiang Yage will be angry after saying it, and the relationship between the two sisters will be hurt. Jin Shuiue also can't pretend anymore. At most, I will swear with her that I will never fight with her for Qinguang. No matter what the people outside think, no matter what Grandpa wants, she doesn't mind. She doesn't want to lose Jiang Yage. The two of them grew up together, and this relationship is definitely not comparable to ordinary best friends and sisters. Although the two of them are not biological parents, they are better than biological parents. So far, Jin Shuiue feels that she has made enough mistakes in this matter, and she doesn't want to make more mistakes. What Jiang Yage thinks is that the person Qinguang likes is Sister Shuiue, and she has always known it, but she still selfishly tried to hide this matter. This is unfair to Qinguang and Sister Shuiue, she is too selfish. I will speak first. Jiang Yage said. Jin Shuiue interrupted her, no, I will speak first. Yage, I am sorry, I lied to you. Actually, I have always liked him. Since I was saved by him in the water, I have liked him. So at that time, pretending to be lovers with him was my plot. I selfishly wanted to snatch him away. Really? I am sorry, but I don't want to lose you. Jiang Yage is stunned, silent, and turned her head to the side. After a long time, she turned her face, but she is even more ashamed. She silently reached out and hugged Jin Shuiue, and said in a low voice, Sister Shuiue, actually I have always known. Do you think you can hide it from me? Don't I understand you? I just pretended not to understand. Jiang Yage is very lost, very depressed. Jin Shuiue said that she is selfish, but Jiang Yage knows that she is no better. It is nothing more than her personality is more careless, and she dares to say whatever she thinks, and snatch the first opportunity. Sister Shuiue, actually, Qinguang likes you. Jiang Yage said slowly. Jin Shuiue fiercely shook her head, impossible. But what I said is the truth. Why? Actually, sigh, anyway, I just know that the person he likes is you. There is no reason. Impossible. Sister Shuiue, I don't know how to tell you now, but you will definitely know in the future, believe me. Jiang Yage said while looking at Jin Shuiue, her expression is incomparably serious, and does not look like she is joking at all. Jin Shuiue's breathing gradually becomes hurried, she does not know what is going on, but Jiang Yage definitely knows something. Jin Shuiue also understands that Jiang Yage does not need to joke about this kind of thing. Alright, then let's treat it as if it is really like this, let's just treat it as if he really likes me. Jiang Yage nodded heavily, it has always been like this, that's right. Then why did he break up with me this time? I can't figure it out. Jin Shuiue seems to be asking Jiang Yage, but also seems to be asking herself. Probably because this time Zhuo Wei dug up his dirt, the public opinion on the internet has put too much pressure on him, and he also thinks that this situation is not good for everyone, so he wants to give up. This is really too much. Jin Shuiue said. Jiang Yage also nodded, it is quite too much, he didn't even say goodbye, and just broke up. He broke up at the press conference. He can't admit it. Solomon, in short, the person who feels the most sorry in this matter is still you, Jin Shuiue said again. The two sisters sighed in unison and fell into silence again, this matter is really quite deceptive. At this time, it is night time in London, and before they know it, 12 o'clock has passed. The two of them have known each other since they were very young, and they have been living together ever since. They never thought that they would fall out like this because of a man, and the two of them have never been so silent with each other. Jiang Yage suddenly laughed, with a pft. Jin Shuiue wondered, Solomon, what's wrong? Nothing, I just think this matter is very funny. Jiang Yage patted her head. With her reminder, Jin Shiriyue also laughed. It is very funny. I think he is actually afraid of these things, so from that time on the set, he hid far away from the two of us. Now we are here in melancholy, maybe he is still proud that he is finally free. Before I posted on Weibo, maybe he really was like this. Jin Shiriyue said. No matter what Sister Shiriyue thinks, in any case, I don't intend to give up like this. Sister Shiriyue, let's compete fairly. Although he likes you now, I also have an advantage. Let me tell you a secret, he is really much more lecherous than he is pretending to be. There is no man who is not lecherous. What? What did you do with him? He, anyway, it is more exciting than you think. You little girl, you are so shameless. What do I need to be shameless for? Do you want to die to save face and suffer? It is so rare to meet someone you like, but if you miss it, you will feel remorse. Who can you reason with? There is no reason in the first place, okay? Sister Shiriyue, your temperament is too soft. Really, if you had taken the initiative like me, he would have fallen into your trap long ago. Jiang Yage acted like an experienced person, instead lecturing Jin Shiriyue. Sooner or later, I will be as shameless as you, and let you know my power. Jin Shiriyue rolled her eyes, the heavy feeling in her heart gradually disappeared. Come on, I will wait for you. Don't wait until I have a big belly, where are you going to look at his photos and comfort yourself? You little girl, you really dare to say it, don't force me. I am forcing you, who asked Sister Shiriyue to always be like this, since young, you have always given in to me, this time I really don't want you to give in again, do you think I will feel good seeing you sad? No matter what happens between us in the end, Sister Shiriyue, you must remember, we will be like this for the rest of our lives, okay? No matter if you win or lose, you have to be upright, okay? Okay. Oh right, I always feel that this fellow's relationship with that whatever beautiful teacher of his is not as simple as he said, we must first unite against the outside world. He is the most shameless one, fickle in love. As expected of Sister Shiriyue, you have already started planning. Of course, do you think it will be enough to rush in like you used to? Chasing a man is the same as in the TV, you need to use tactics. Tactics? Let us drug him. Go to hell, think of something more reliable. Oh right, aren't you going to act with him in Director Deng's Women? Yes, why? Jiang Yage asked curiously. There is a kissing scene in it, right? Jin Shiriyue recalled, although she was not the main creator of this movie, but as a cameo, she still read the script when she had nothing to do. Jiang Yage nodded, there is a kissing scene, I originally did not want to take this script, but didn't I take it because he wanted to act in it? Add a passionate scene. Jin Shiriyue said. Jiang Yage's eyes lit up, that's right, why didn't I think of it? Jin Shiriyue immediately started to change the script. Half an hour later, Jiang Yage felt that something was wrong. Hey. I'm the female lead, and he's playing my boyfriend in the movie. Why is his passionate scene with you, his first girlfriend who plays a minor role? Jin Shiriyue said proudly, think of it this way. The male lead first has a physical relationship with his first love, and then has so many things happen with you, the female lead. This can enrich the character's image very well. This kind of relationship will have more layers. Go to hell. Hey, you really sent it to Big Beard. The two girls laughed, the script was changed beyond recognition, but it was not important. Jin Shiriyue had not been like this for a long time, putting aside all the grudges and playing with Jiang Yage. No matter what, the feeling of not hiding something in the heart is really good, Jiang Yage also thought so. Chapter 647. Of course, there were also people who were not so happy at this moment. The news media could be shameless. When they saw that the situation wasn't right, they quickly apologized and admitted defeat. However, those who had followed the trend and stepped on Chen Guang's head were now in a difficult position. They couldn't keep their faces. For example, Zhang Tianming, the best actor, was filming on the set when his manager suddenly barged in from outside. Caw caw caw. The director looked helplessly at Zhang Tianming's manager who had suddenly barged in. He wanted to scold her, but she was Superstar Media's manager, so he had to coax her. After all, the film was relying on the best actor to pull up the box office. What is it? You're so flustered. Zhang Tianming was a little unhappy. Brother Tianming, Chen Guang's press conference has ended. The agent said breathlessly. Who cares what he says? He's so annoying. Do you think I'm afraid of him? Zhang Tianming was already upset because of the scolding below his Weibo. His agent even brought this up to him. Wasn't this infuriating? Brother Tianming, don't be stubborn. I recorded the whole press conference. You'd better delete the previous Weibo post and post an apology. The agent didn't care about Zhang Tianming's impatient look. Instead, he pulled him out in his costume. Dream on. Zhang Tianming said stubbornly. You want me to apologize to him? Are you still asleep? You should restrain your stubbornness. Really, you should watch the video first. This guy is a little scary. Zhang Tianming's agent poked and prodded him anxiously. Then, she placed her phone in front of him and clicked on the video. When watching the entire video of the press conference, Zhang Tianming's actions were roughly like this. F***CK, Zhuo Wei is committing suicide. The manager said, isn't that so? It looks like he's doing this to protect himself. What? Chen Guang and Jin Shiyue were pretending. Was there a need for Jin Shiyue to help him? He had gone mad. If what Chen Guang said is true, then didn't he offend Jin Shiyue's family? Even so, look at Jin Shiyue's response. The manager took out another phone, and on the screen was Jin Shiyue's Weibo account. After Zhang Tianming saw it, his expression changed. After a long time, he finally squeezed out 4 words, what the F***CK. Then he took a deep breath. There's no justice in this. How much bewitching potion did Jin Shiyue drink? The manager was also quite helpless. There's no justice in this world. I don't even know what's wrong with this world. Brother Tianming, I'm not joking with you. Really, delete the post and apologize. We can't afford to offend him. There's no need to talk about Jin Shiyue's background. What if he gets in touch with Mr. Lu Chao's Lushur culture and tries to make trouble for us in the future? We'll be in big trouble. A few years ago, didn't that Mr. Pan guy get pushed to the ground by Lu Chao? We don't have to flaunt our abilities. Zhang Tianming's face turned red. He hesitated for a long time, feeling vexed. But this time, he really couldn't be stubborn. He sighed. Okay. Zhang Tianming had already given in. Those people in the industry who followed the trend were not any better. Sooner or later, they all expressed their stance. There weren't many who were stubborn. Lowering one's head and admitting one's mistake when the situation wasn't looking good was the philosophy of life. There was nothing shameful about it. The hustle and bustle would eventually settle down. Life had to go on. There was really no need to make a big fuss over such a small matter. It would be a dead end for one's career in the industry. For a moment, the internet was bustling. All sorts of celebrities and famous media lined up to apologize to Chen Guang. The netizens and fans were too busy to take in. Actually, Chen Guang didn't really care about these people's apologies. Now that the matter was over, he would throw it to the back of his mind. Those who needed to apologize would apologize, those who needed to clarify, and those who were stubborn would insist on taking the blame. Then, he would let Tianguang manager sort out the list of names and deal with it however he wanted. Anyway, Tang Zhao's 130 million was still there. The 8 weekly magazines, which he had just earned for 1 yuan, were still in turmoil. From the looks of it, there should be some cash flow. It wouldn't be a problem for him to fight a lawsuit or take revenge on those disgusting people. As long as this incident gave those people a wake-up call, those people would have to think twice before they wanted to ride roughshod over their heads in the future. By striking a blow to the mountain to warn the tiger, he would be able to avoid these troublesome matters in the future. Then, his goal would be achieved. He didn't have the mood to care about these trivial matters all day long. At this moment, he was sitting in his office with his legs crossed. He was calling Tang Ying. "Sister Tang Ying, let's have dinner together tonight. I'm not free. I have to operate on a patient today. When will you be done?" "In my next life." "Sis, you can't be like this. You have to keep your word." "What did I say? Why don't I remember? The sun is really scorching me today. I don't have the energy to go out at all." Tang Ying was also good at acting shamelessly. Then, Chen Guang played the recording. It was Tang Ying's sentence, I'll use my mouth. You dare to record it?" Tang Ying broke down. Chen Guang smirked. "Of course I have to record it. I've already seen through you." On the other end of the phone, Tang Ying's face turned pale. She had only said it casually. Who would have thought that Chen Guang would really do it? Now that she couldn't deny it, Tang Ying became bashful. "Well, I really have to operate today. But don't worry. I won't go back on my word, okay? I'll do what I say, but you have to give me some time to prepare myself. It's a little embarrassing to do it in such a hurry." "All right, I'm relieved to hear that." Chen Guang hung up the phone happily and turned to look at his brand new office. The bright afternoon sun shone through the floor-to-ceiling windows, making him feel comfortable. It was like a happy occasion. "How is this sun scorching me? It's simply heartwarming, okay?" Yu Hong came over and knocked on the door. "Chief Chen, are you there?" Chen Guang asked him to open the door. Yu Hong said, "Lu Xiaoliang, the deputy editor of 8 Weekly, is here. He has something to say to you." Only then did Chen Guang remember this cheap underling that he bought with $1. He waved his hand casually. "Let him in." Truth be told, Chen Guang didn't have any feelings for the 8 magazines. According to his initial plan, he would just disband them. In any case, he had no intention of becoming the leader of the paparazzi, so there was no point in having the 8 magazines. Besides, in Chen Guang's opinion, since these employees of 8 Weekly chose to work with Zhuo Wei, they were not good people in their bones. It was useless to have them. Everyone's philosophy of life was different, and a melon that was twisted together would not be sweet. However, Yu Hong's suggestion could not be ignored. What he said was quite reasonable. "Xiao Lu, go in and have a good talk with Chief Chen. Chief Chen is quite easy to talk to. Tell me what you think." Yu Hong left and said to Lu Xiaoliang, who was waiting outside the door. Yu Hong was quite optimistic about Lu Xiaoliang. At such a young age, he could become the deputy editor of 8 Weekly and become Zhuo Wei's right-hand man, which showed that he was more or less a talent. Moreover, as a veteran in the workplace, unlike Chen Guang, who was fresh and refined, Yu Hong considered more about interests. Even if Chen Guang wanted to completely destroy 8 Weekly, Yu Hong planned to protect the company. At least the backbone should be kept. Even if it was just moving some of the core employees of 8 Weekly to the headquarters of Tianguang Agency, it was necessary to occupy a small office on the 15th floor as a subordinate department. The goal was nothing else. 8 Weekly had a lot of information about many big shots in and out of the entertainment circle. They were also quite valuable. They could be treated as a nuclear deterrent. In the future, they might be able to help Tianguang Agency clear a lot of unnecessary trouble in the future development. Before this, Yu Hong had mentioned this to Chen Guang. Now, he was just waiting for Chen Guang to make a decision. Lu Xiaoyang hesitated outside for a long time. Finally, he mustered up the courage to enter the office. There was no hope on Zhuo Wei's side. Mr. Lu also clearly said that all the shares of 8 Weekly had been transferred to Chen Guang. In other words, this paparazzi magazine, which was once famous in the industry, had completely fallen into the hands of Chen Guang. The life and death of the entire company was in the hands of Chen Guang. Many of the former employees were still lying in the hospital, but everyone was already starting to worry about their own futures. It was obvious that the new boss hated the paparazzi to the core. Even if everyone helped him provide all kinds of evidence to make Zhuo Wei self-destruct, it didn't seem to be able to change his opinion. Everyone also understood that as employees of 8 Weekly, they weren't good people. At this time, the entire 8 Weekly was in a state of panic. The heavy responsibility of spying on the new boss fell on the shoulders of the deputy chief editor, Comrade Lu Xiaoyang. In fact, Lu Xiaoyang originally planned to leave 8 Weekly, leave the sad city of Wujing, and go to Yanjing to find a slightly kind-hearted media outlet. Then, he would settle down as an honest reporter and work hard for the rest of his life. Then, he would buy a suite in Yanjing 3rd Ring Road. His life would be worth it. However, he was kind after all. He couldn't resist the eager eyes of his colleagues in the company. If he left at this time, 8 Weekly, the entertainment empire that Zhuo Wei had created, would be completely disbanded. Although most of the people in the company were senior paparazzi who only wanted to get rich, Lu Xiaoyang knew that there were some people like him. They used to have pure dreams, but in the end, they could only helplessly kneel in front of the door of reality. At the same time, he wanted to know if they could return to being upright under Chen Guang. After all, Chen Guang's new boss was truly different from the rest. Chief Chen. Lu Xiaoyang carried a large metal box and stood in front of Chen Guang. Chen Guang retracted his eyes from the computer screen and gestured for him to sit down. Xiao Lu, you sit. Oh, okay. Looking at Lu Xiaoyang, Chen Guang felt a little awkward. Although Lu Xiaoyang wasn't old, he looked to be in his mid-20s. Yet, Lu Xiaoyang didn't show any signs of discomfort when he called him Xiao Lu. Chen Guang felt that Lu Xiaoyang's heart had died. If you have something to say, just say it. Don't beat around the bush here. Oh, by the way, I heard from Mr. Lu that 8 Weekly had a lot of real news. Did you bring it over? The real news that Chen Guang was talking about was naturally the news that Zhuo Wei and hundreds of employees of 8 Weekly worked from dawn to dusk, risking their lives to take photos of various artists and celebrities. Lu Xiaoyang opened the metal box. Inside were 8 portable hard drives arranged neatly. Chief Chen, all the hard drives I copied are here. Chief Zhua, oh no, there are still some in Zhuo Wei's office computer. I asked Manager Yu to lock his main computer in the storeroom. There are no hard drives anywhere else. Chen Guang nodded and asked Lu Xiaoyang to leave the box behind. Good job. Lu Xiaoyang was very nervous. What he was going to say next represented the fate of the remaining 20 or so people who shared the same goal as him. As for the others, he didn't care. He didn't have the heart of a Buddha. He knew that even if he managed to save those people, they might end up in a worse situation when Mr. Chen personally kicked them out. Sigh, this was probably the fiercest pain one could experience in their career. No one would believe it if they said it out loud. 8 weekly magazines were sold for 1 yuan. Suddenly, Chen Guang leaned down slightly and looked at him strangely. Oh, Xiao Lu, in these 8 portable hard drives, are there any small clips? Huh? Small clips? Lu Xiaoyang did not understand what he meant. Chen Guang blinked at him. Don't put on an act with me. It's the kind that is exciting, sensational, superstar, shameful. Lu Xiaoyang's brain froze. Alright, I take back my thoughts. This new boss does not seem to be a decent person. Something that can be erotic? Xiao Lu asked. Chen Guang's eyes lit up. That's right. You have no idea how many Calabash Brothers I downloaded on the internet over the years. Those unscrupulous media outlets and marketing accounts are too heartless. I had been downloading torrents for 3 days and 3 nights. I clenched my teeth and downloaded a celebrity collection at a snail's pace. It was more than 10 gigabytes, and I was stuck at 99% for another 3 days. Finally, I finished downloading it. When I uncompressed it, I saw that it was the Calabash Brothers collection. I immediately called the police. There must be something in it, right? Celebrity. Lu Xiaoyang's mouth opened wider. He suddenly had a feeling that he should go to Beijing to pursue a righteous life. His new boss seems to be even fiercer than President Zhua. Yes, but not much. I haven't taken a good look at them myself. Chairman Zhua, oh no, Zhua Wei has only mentioned them to me occasionally. Some of them are from A-list celebrities, and some are even from S-list celebrities. However, they are all his treasures, and he has never let me look at them. Chen Guang's eyes brighten up. Go and close the office door. When Lu Xiaoyang returned, Chen Guang pointed to the 8 hard drives and asked. Which one? From my understanding of Zhua Wei, H drive. Lu Xiaoyang pointed at the 8th hard drive with the H label and said decisively. Chen Guang gave him a thumbs up. You know your stuff. Chapter 648. Then, Chief Chen, I'll be leaving now. Chen Guang waved his hand to get him to leave, but after a while, he called Lu Xiaoyang back. The unlucky Zhua Wei actually used English letter codes for every folder. With Chen Guang's poor understanding of the entertainment industry, even if there were people in front of him, he wouldn't be able to recognize many of them. How could he tell who was who just by looking at the code? What was even more shameful was that the quality of many of the videos and photos was really not good. Either the camera angle was wrong, or the lighting was terrible. It was a dark mass, and one could only see 2 ghostly shadows swaying on the screen. This was a real photo shoot. There was no way to have high requirements for quality. Help me identify these people. What kind of D*MN code names are these? I don't know any of them. You know a lot. Also, help me introduce these people to their representative works, what songs they sang, and whether they're popular. Chen Guang rubbed his fingers together. Lu Xiaoyang felt that his life was probably going to be ruined here. 3 hours later, around 5 in the afternoon, the newly established Tianguang Agency's busy day of work was over. It was almost time to knock off. The 2 of them still hadn't come out. The staff of Tianguang Agency had quite a lot of things to do outside. Other than the construction team that was still renovating the office, the entire company was mobilized to check on the movements of the media and celebrities who were looking for trouble. If everyone agreed that the other party had admitted defeat, they would tick it. Then, they would summarize the article's title and general meaning and print it out on a form. When it was finally submitted to Yu Hong would look through it and further eliminate them. He would sort out the list of people that might be in dispute and give it to Chen Guang. This so-called dispute was based on Yu Hong's shallow understanding of Chen Guang, trying to figure out this narrow-minded person's character and determine if he would be satisfied. For those who were slow, pretended to be dead, pretended to be offline, or those who were busy with other things and didn't know that there was an uproar, they would call to communicate. If communication failed, they would be blacklisted. According to Chen Guang, he had 10,000 ways to kill these people. Everyone was also quite curious about what kind of impact Chen Guang's 10,000 ways would have. However, food had to be eaten bite by bite, and things had to be done step by step. When it was time to get off work, one had to get off work. The 40 or so people hidden in the Guangdong General Headquarters were not having it easy either. Not only did they have to do their own jobs, sweeping the floor, patrolling, standing guard, or otherwise busy themselves in the kitchen, they also had to deal with the Guangdong General Headquarters errands every now and then. The day of the individual military exercise was getting closer and closer. Not everyone in the Special Affairs Bureau was as bold as Tsing Yongtai or Director Ouyang. After continuous communication and spying, some of the Special Affairs Bureau employees who could be roped in or instigated had already made their moves. Taking the southwest branch of the Special Affairs Bureau, which was also located in the 5 capitals, as a breakthrough point, the progress was particularly smooth. Xan Qin and Wu Miaowan had to remotely control the work of communicating with their own people in the southwest branch from Chen Guang's home. The specific implementation naturally fell to the staff of the Guangdong General Headquarters. Fortunately, the personnel assigned by Chen Guang were really redundant. The security department, cleaning department, and cafeteria department kept asking for leave, and there was no shortage of manpower. However, there was one thing that made everyone feel very strange. Xiao Lu from Bazhou Weekly had been in Chen Guang's office for 3 hours. Why hadn't she come out yet? Could she have died in there? F***ck, this scene was a little bloody just by imagining it. Old Yu, why don't you go and take a look? Nothing bad happened, right? Fong Tianyu, the marketing manager of Tianguang Brokerage, whispered to Yu Hong with some fear. Yu Hong was more reliable in handling matters than Fong Tianyu. Old Fong, don't ask too much about the boss's work. Maybe Chen Guang has some big arrangements for Bazhou Weekly. All right. Fong Tianyu also knew that he was not very reliable. In the chairman's office, Chen Guang happily patted Lu Xiaoliang's shoulder, feeling very satisfied. Although most of the shots in this basket of videos and pictures were so bad that they could not be looked at directly, and there was no hope for them to get some points, the protagonists in them were awesome. Even if they could not see clearly, just thinking about the identity of the protagonists could make people feel proud. That's right, from now on, I will be one of the best veterans in the country. Of course, there were a few dozen videos that were very clear. But for these high-quality videos, Chen Guang only glanced at the beginning and then deleted them. Then he changed the folder's name. As a boss, he should have a sense of superiority. He still had to enjoy the high-quality videos alone. It was a bit unbearable to sit and watch with comrade Xiao Lu. Sangu, you are pretty good. From now on, we are on the same side. Chen Guang continued to pat his shoulder. Lu Xiaoliang regretted it so much that he wanted to vomit blood. Previously, he saw a popular star in his university and accidentally revealed his nickname in his dormitory. After so many years, he became Sangu again. Alas, it is really sad to think about it. But for the sake of my brothers in Bazhou Weekly, I will bear it. Thank you, Chen Guang. What about Bazhou Weekly? Lu Xiaoliang finally asked this question. It's broken. Chen Guang said these 2 words directly. Ah. It's broken. It's broken just like that. Looking at Zhuo Wei's dazed expression, Chen Guang could understand his feelings. However, he wasn't interested in becoming a paparazzi, and there's no point in keeping the 8 magazines. He was already going against his conscience to obtain the 8 hard drives that Zhuo Wei had accumulated over the years, so he couldn't continue Zhuo Wei's career. Sanggu, don't be like this. I think you are a decent person. Are you reluctant to do the paparazzi work for Bazhou Weekly? Lu Xiaoyang shook his head. No, I just have some colleagues. Chen Guang nodded. I understand. Don't be nervous. Since I said you are on the same side, I am not joking. I will treat you well. The Administrative Department and the Public Relations Department of Tianguang Agency are merged, but this is not a good solution. I plan to set up a department that is in charge of publicity. Let's call it the Publicity and Public Relations Department. You will be the manager. As for the internal staff of Bazhou Weekly, you can hire those who have good moral characters who are willing to work for me. As for those who are unreliable, traitorous, or stubborn, just give them a sum of severance pay and medical expenses. You can deal with them however you want. Don't tell me you are best friends with all the staff of Bazhou Weekly. Lu Xiaoyang's eyes gradually lit up. Although Chief Chen had been dragging him to watch the short films from the beginning to the end, asking this and that, as if his mind was only focused on who these celebrities were, in fact, he already had a plan in mind. Tianguang Agency will set up a new publicity department. I will be the manager, and I will be on the same level as Yu Hong. This kind of treatment, this kind of appreciation, it was simply enough to make one's eyes brim with tears, all right? Moreover, I am still a criminal. How could Chen Guang think so highly of me and trust me? Lu Xiaoyang's body trembled uncontrollably. Young man, don't just get excited. Remember, men are like iron, and the two of us are like iron. Do a good job, and you will be treated well. Tianguang Agency needs talents for publicity. Thank you, Chen Guang. I won't let you down. Not everyone in Gossip Weekly is like Zhuo Wei. Actually, when we first graduated, we sincerely wanted to be honest media people. It's just that we ran into Gossip Weekly and couldn't help but become paparazzi. That's okay. Your previous work was also very effective. Chen Guang looked at the H drive silently. What a treasure. Strange. Why am I drooling? After a while, he remembered something important. By the way, how many people do you think we can keep? About 20 people. I don't want the unreliable ones, Lu Xiaoyang said seriously. He had to be careful when choosing people. That's settled. From now on, you will be the manager of the Publicity and Public Relations Department of Tianguang Agency. Lu Xiaoyang nodded heavily. However, he felt something was wrong. Why did it seem that there were 2 more words behind the title of publicity? That's right. The number 1 male public relations department of Tianguang Agency. It's you. Yani. Ahem, Sanggu. Chen Guang patted Lu Xiaoyang's shoulder again. Then he carried the box with 8 portable hard drives and walked to the door of the office. Time to get off work. Poor Sanggu, who was standing in the wind in confusion. To hell with the number 1 male public relations department. When Chen Guang walked out of the door, Yu Hong, who was still working, approached him. Chen Guang, what's your decision? Hence, Chen Guang told Yu Hong about his thoughts. Although it might seem to be diluting Yu Hong's authority, Yu Hong was Tang Xiaokai's trusted aide overseas, and his specialty wasn't in publicity or public relations. Furthermore, he didn't have any connections in the country. Just this matter alone was already strenuous for him, so he was happy that he could get rid of it. By the way, you can also transfer these people from the administration department to the publicity and public relations department. Chen Guang mentioned the 2 police trainees and a military trainee who had sneaked into the company's administration department. Yu Hong was quite puzzled. These 3 people are quite capable. Chen Guang waved his hand. I know. That's why I'm letting them see the world. Fine, you have the final say. Yu Hong was quite reluctant to let go of these three people when Chen Guang mentioned them. After settling this matter, Chen Guang didn't pretend to be busy anymore. He was ready to get up and leave. Looking at the empty office hall, Chen Guang silently clenched his fist. I'm the last to get off work. I'm such a hard-working boss. He didn't realize that he had spent the whole afternoon in H-Disc. He just wanted to sneak home and lock himself in his room to think about the 10 or so high-definition hot news. But before he could even step out of the office, he received a call from Bai Hua. At that moment, Chen Guang felt the urge to give Bai Hua a pinch. However, Bai Hua had helped him a lot this time, and it wouldn't be good if he didn't pick up the call. Brother Bai Hua, what's up? Why didn't you say hello yesterday before you left? I still have something to ask you. Bai Hua's tone sounded a little unhappy. Of course, Chen Guang knew why Bai Hua was unhappy. However, if you're happy, then I'm not happy. So, you can continue to be unhappy. Oh, I'm quite busy. I saw that you guys talked for quite a long time. It's a waste of time for me to wait outside. I asked you to come and listen, but you didn't come. Are you blaming me? Bai Hua continued. Chen Guang coughed twice. To be honest, Brother Bai Hua, don't think too highly of me. I'm actually just a fourth-year student. Your topics are too profound. Come on, aren't you President Chen with a net worth of over 100 million now? Don't play dumb with me. You're just avoiding me. Bai Hua said again. Chen Guang had goosebumps all over his body. What the hell? Can't we have a proper conversation? Who the hell wants to avoid you? We're not acting out a melodramatic love drama, okay? I have to go back to Beijing tonight. Oh, that's good. Have a safe trip. Be careful. But I still haven't seen Qin Yu. Brother Bai Hua, there are plenty of fish in the sea. Why do you have to chase after someone who has no interest in you? I said I won't give up so easily. Of course, I understand what you said before. I shouldn't be so overbearing. But it's okay, I can wait. Chen Guang wanted to stab himself with a knife. Come to think of it, what did I say to you before? If I remember correctly, I've been telling you to give up. Why are you becoming more and more stubborn? Your brain circuit is different from mine. Forget it. I won't pester Qin Yu this time. But there's one more thing. It's best if we talk face to face. About Shiyue, shouldn't you give me an explanation? Chen Guang rolled his eyes. What explanation do I need to give you? I'm not letting down the heavens, I'm not letting down the earth, I'm not letting down my conscience. Alright, this matter was quite hurtful to Bai Hua. He was also a pitiful person. It was all a sin. But aren't you going back to Beijing today? It's not convenient right now. If there's anything, let's talk about it in a few days. Chen Guang used a delaying tactic. Bai Hua used a decisive move. I'm downstairs at your company. You can see me when you go downstairs. I've ordered a meal next to your company. Let's talk while we eat. This time, Chen Guang couldn't escape. He braced himself and sat down with Bai Hua in the restaurant. I just found out that you and Shiyue were faking it. Bai Hua's words were filled with melancholy. Chen Guang rubbed his brows in distress. It's like this. It was a special situation at that time, so I didn't think too much about it. Later on, I regretted it. I felt that Jean Shiyue had sacrificed too much. I wanted to clarify it, but it was too late. I thought that since she's a public figure and a celebrity, it wouldn't be good for her if I treated this matter like a child's play. So, I wanted to drag it out so that people would slowly forget about it. But this time, Zhuo Wei gave me a wake-up call. It's not good for everyone to drag it out, so I took the initiative to reveal it this morning. But you didn't expect her to refute it, did you? You didn't expect her to confess to you in public, did you? Bai Hua wasn't in a hurry to pick up his chopsticks. Instead, he looked at Chen Guang with a burning gaze, trying to see through his heart. Chen Guang felt a headache coming on. I didn't expect it. He felt that it was all Old Master Jin's fault. Old Master Jin must have forced him to do this. Bai Hua slowly poured half a glass of red wine for the two of them before he said, "You're surprised because you don't know Shiriyue well enough. Don't be unconvinced. No matter what the two of you talked about it, I'm 100% sure that Shiriyue really likes you the moment she announced it on Weibo. Otherwise, do you think she would have pretended to write those things on Weibo? Even I feel sick for her, okay? You have to know that she has known these things since she was very young. When she was 5 or 6 years old, she wouldn't let me hold her hand. If she didn't care about you, she would never have said those things, let alone kissed you in public at the concert. She's more stubborn than you think. And more principled." Before he met Qinyu, Bai Hua had liked Jin Shiriyue for many years. So, he could see these things more clearly than Chen Guang. Chapter 649. Chen Guang was speechless. Although he didn't want to admit that what Bai Hua said was true, the more he thought about it, the more he felt it made sense. If he remembered correctly, when he kissed Jin Shiriyue before the concert, not only did she not feel any discomfort, but she even hugged him back to make them stick closer together. She even took the initiative to stick her tongue out. If she didn't have feelings for him, then there must be something wrong with her brain. Chen Guang slapped his forehead. He was really stupid. He didn't think so much at that time. But at that time, Chen Guang didn't have any acting skills, and he didn't know much about the human body's microexpressions and reactions. Plus, he thought that Jin Shiriyue was being pushed by Jiang Yage, so he didn't think too much about it. Now that Bai Hua mentioned it, the meaning of it resurfaced in his mind. It was really scary. Then the problem was, Jiang Yage really liked him. This was something that couldn't be hidden. The two of them had already done it at Yanjing's Nuo Club. Then would Jiang Yage and Jin Shiriyue fight because of him? Wouldn't this be a bit too melodramatic? Then he quietly opened his Weibo and looked at Jiang Yage's latest post. Sisters of one heart, their sharpness can cut through metal. He spat out the red wine that he had just drunk. It would have been better if the two of them had actually fought. This was even more melodramatic than a fight. The fans of Jiang Yage's Weibo said that as Jin Shiriyue's best friend, she was expressing her support for Jin Shiriyue's pursuit of Chen Guang. Only Chen Guang, the only person involved, understood Jiang Yage's words. The meaning was extremely rich, and the implied meaning was extremely scary. "Old man, what did I do? Pfft, this wasn't the time to think about this." Chen Guang coughed a few times before saying, "Okay, maybe you're right, brother Bai Hua. I didn't think it through and didn't truly understand Jin Shiriyue's feelings. No matter what you say, I will still say the same thing. If you dare to let Shiriyue down, if you dare to make her sad, as her brother, I will be the first to not agree. Although I don't know what's going on between you and that female counselor of yours, believe me, you won't be able to find a better woman than Shiriyue in this world." It seemed that Bai Hua had come looking for Chen Guang today to give him a warning about this matter. Chen Guang nodded repeatedly. After all, he was in the wrong. Except for Qinyu. Bai Hua added. "Go to hell. Big brother Bai Hua, can we stop talking about Qinyu?" Chen Guang's temples were swollen and painful. "I'm talking to you about Shiriyue. What are you thinking? Bai Hua didn't realize how much trouble his words had caused for Chen Guang. Chen Guang thought for a moment. He really didn't want to give Bai Hua any reason to talk. Even though he didn't have any ideas, and even though Jiang Ye's words, sisters are of one mind, their sharpness can cut through gold, he still decided to lie. Don't worry, I understand. Bai Hua drank another mouthful of wine. It's good that you understand. Compared to me, you're really lucky. You have to cherish your own happiness. Okay, thank you for your concern, big brother Bai Hua. Bai Hua poured himself another glass and said, sigh. Then, he drank it all in one gulp. Chen Guang had a feeling that this guy was planning to get himself drunk. About 20 minutes later, Chen Guang realized that he wasn't mistaken. There were several bottles of wine on the table. Did Bai Hua come to get him drunk? Sigh, thinking about it, he was really bitter. The person he had liked since he was young had already fallen in love with him. When he finally fell in love with another girl, it was still him. Now that he thought about it, even a simple request like meeting her had become an extravagant hope. There was nothing more tragic than this. I'm toxic. Big brother Bai Hua is really miserable. So what if you're a proud son of heaven? So what if you're the vice president of Tianjing Energy? So what if you're the apple of the eye of many elders? No matter how good your innate qualities are, you can't overcome life's ups and downs. Chen Guang was going to drive, so he didn't dare to drink anymore after drinking half a glass. Big brother Bai Hua, don't drink too much. It'll be embarrassing if you get airsick. That's not even close. How can I get drunk? Bai Hua waved his hand and gulped down another large mouthful of wine. In fact, his alcohol tolerance wasn't that good. It was just a way of venting his emotions. He put down the glass and looked at Chen Guang with red eyes and face. Chen Guang, I really envy you. You're able to get Shuyu's heart. You don't have such a hard life like me. I really want to see Chen Yu. Even in my dreams, if I didn't numb myself with crazy work, I think I'd go crazy. It can't be, big brother Bai Hua. You've only met her twice. You don't have such deep feelings for her, do you? Chen Guang wanted to remind him. This isn't a movie. How can there be such a powerful love at first sight? Bai Hua shook his head. No, I can't explain it to you. Before this, I really didn't believe in love at first sight, but some things are really unbelievable. Forget it, someone as lucky as you won't understand. You definitely won't understand. It's a beautiful and wonderful feeling. Chen Guang cursed in his heart. How can I not understand? How can I not understand? You fell for Liuli's trick in the old man's heavenly holy grail, okay? Can you not make it sound so high and mighty? Didn't Wu Tong also fall for it? How come the after effects weren't as serious as yours? Liuli's voice sounded in his mind. Of course it's different. Wu Tong is a woman after all. She's much more reserved when it comes to these things. When she realized that something was wrong, all she could think of was to figure out what was going on and then restrain the emotional after effects. In the end, she failed and fell head over heels in love with you. But this man doesn't even think about restraining himself. His mind is filled with all sorts of fantasies. Not only does he not restrain himself, but he also takes the initiative to deepen his memories. Isn't that just courting death? Chen Guang suddenly understood. When he looked at Bai Hua again, he felt that this guy didn't deserve any sympathy. Serves you right. Who told you to have a head full of shameful thoughts? Bai Hua patted Chen Guang's shoulder again. Brother, my heart is bitter. Chen Guang also patted his shoulder. To be honest, big brother Bai Hua, my heart is also bitter. Bai Hua slowly shook his head. What are you bitter about? How are you bitter? Look at you. You obviously know Chin Yu. She's obviously in Wujing, but you don't let me see her. Even when I asked you to pass the message, it went in one ear and out the other, right? How cruel are you? How heartless. After drinking too much, this guy finally said what he was holding back in his heart. He wasn't as calm as he looked. How am I heartless? It's others who don't want to see you. Are you blaming me? Chen Guang spread his hands. Bai Hua started hitting his head on the table. Can't I blame you? I just want to see her from afar, but I can't do it. Is my request too much? Is it really too much? Chen Guang, you're Jingwei's brother. I also treat you as my brother. When you're in trouble, I'll help you wholeheartedly. How can you torture me like this? As Bai Hua spoke, his eyes became redder and redder. He actually cried. Hearing those words, Chen Guang sucked in a cold breath. He couldn't tell that big brother Bai Hua would be so unreasonable when he's drunk despite his usual appearance. Usually, the more serious a person is, the more they collapse when they're drunk. But regardless of whether he's drunk or not, he looks really pitiful. Brother Bai Hua, can you stop crying? I'm not used to seeing you like this. How about this, Chen Yu's not in a good position right now. I'll find a chance to let you see her, okay? Bai Hua, who had been drunk just a moment ago, suddenly raised his head, his eyes practically glowing. Good. Then it's a deal. As a man, once you say it, you can't go back on it. He proudly waved his phone. I've recorded it. Don't try to go back on your words. Chen Guang was dumbfounded. Where's this guy's drunkenness? Where did he go? Isn't he a psycho? Are you pretending to be drunk? I'm an award-winning actor, yet I'm being cheated by you. Chen Guang didn't expect that a man like Bai Hua would actually cry, throw a tantrum, and threaten to hang himself. He was caught off guard and accidentally fell into Bai Hua's trap. Then that's it. Since I'm full, it's time for me to return to Beijing. Bai Hua said as he stood up, packed his clothes, and wiped his face. The redness from the alcohol disappeared in a blink of an eye. This bastard really used a woman's blush when he lowered his face. Now, it's gone. Is this how Bai Hua, the proud son of heaven of Yanjing, uses his intelligence and wisdom? Chen Guang sighed in admiration. Bai Hua was actually shameless to this extent. Serves him right for falling into his trap. Who would have thought of such a big contrast? After Bai Hua walked out of the restaurant, he silently took out his phone and sent a message to Lin Jingwei. Thank you, Jingwei. You said that this trick was really useful. Chen Guang is really soft-hearted. In fact, the play that Bai Hua put on today was all Lin Jingwei's trick. He was the one who taught Bai Hua to deliberately trick Chen Guang. This represented the anger of the three grandsons in the dormitory. Everyone was extremely envious and jealous of him for getting Jin Shiyue's love. He was also taking revenge for Sun Xiaoxuan, who was overseas and didn't know what was going on. You're too shameless. Sun Xiaoxuan is sincere to you, but let's not talk about Miss Wen. After all, we've known each other for so long, yet you still dared to take the initiative to confess to Teacher Zhua? And then Jin Shiyue confessed to you. How can we be happy friends like this? If I don't let you have a taste of my power, you won't know how many eyes I have. Going downstairs alone, Chen Guang felt a little melancholy. Originally, he was just making a promise. Seeing that Bai Hua was drunk, he wanted to coax him to behave. In the end, this guy was pretending to be drunk and even recorded it. I can't even deny it. Why does this trick seem so familiar? That's right, I used it to deal with Tang Ying, but now it's being used on me. Thinking of Tang Ying, he felt a little unwilling. They had originally agreed on a bet, but she said she was going to have surgery today. No matter what, he couldn't disturb her. All right, he tightened the suitcase in his hand. Fortunately, the old man still had an H-drive. Back home, after a whole day of tossing and turning, Enchanting and Wu Miaowan were pretty good. The shabby room was almost cleaned up, and the dear wife, who had been brutally shot in the head, had been replaced with a new monitor. Other than the two deputy directors finally reporting to him about the Guangdong General Administration, everything was so beautiful. Chen Guang originally thought that the director position was just a useless position. The elders were just giving him a golden opportunity because of his friendship with Wenwen and Jin Shiyue. He was just a decoration in this broken police station, playing the role of a mascot. If they really let him handle government affairs like an official, wouldn't that make things difficult for them? Don't think too highly of me. I'm just a university student who hasn't even graduated, okay? Director, this is the list of people we met today. This is the conversation record, please take a look. Don't be fooled by the fact that these two Lolitas were usually noisy, they were actually both senior sisters in the sect, and they were equally methodical in their work. Today, apart from properly coordinating the personnel dispatched from the general administration, the two had already sorted out the day's work memo and placed it in front of Chen Guang. Chen Guang looked at the thick stack of paper. Can I not look at it? I believe in both of your abilities. For such a small matter, there's no need for me to personally attend to it, right? Enchanting tidied up her collar. Director, instigating defection is no small matter. If there's any mistake, it might lead to a chain of leaks. You have to make the decision. No, really, I believe in both of your abilities. You can handle it yourselves. Chen Guang decisively decided to slack off. Are you going to look at it or not? Wu Miaowan placed her hand on Chen Guang's brand new monitor. Her knuckles were white, and it was obvious that she was accumulating strength. Chen Guang hesitated for 3 seconds. Look. At least you know what's good for you. You should have cooperated earlier. Enchanting silently put down the dagger on his neck. As the director of the General Administration of Guangdong, and having two such capable subordinates, he was really living in an abyss of suffering. As he flipped through the notebook bitterly, Chen Guang thought to himself that when the old man mastered the painting scroll, he would definitely strip off the pants of these two traitors, hang them up, and give them a spanking. These things were even more painful to read than the script. The entire process was boring to the extreme, from the slow probing of each other to the slow open discussion. Around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Chen Guang finally finished reading the notebook, and tossed it aside. All passed. No problem at all. In fact, he was just making a blind judgment. Since the higher-ups thought that they could test the candidates, they were basically right from the start. The staff of the General Administration of Guangdong were only given the final task of contacting them. Why is there no movement? I'm working so hard, why aren't they praising me? Chen Guang turned around and saw two people sitting on the sofa in the middle of the night with flushed faces. They placed the laptop on the coffee table, and their eyes were glued to the screen. Next to the laptop was the box that Chen Guang had brought back. However, the password lock had already been unlocked by some unknown means. It was wide open, and it was obvious that a hard drive was missing from it. Chen Guang tiptoed closer to it, and realized that it was his precious H-drive that was missing. What are you two looking at? Chen Guang shouted in a low voice. Ah! Ah! Enchanting and Wu Miaowan, who were glued to the screen, screamed at the same time. Enchanting scrambled to cover the monitor, while Wu Miaowan frantically tried to pull out the portable hard drive. Seeing that the situation was not good, Chen Guang quickly stopped Wu Miaowan's hand. Don't pull it out directly. There's important information about my company in there. If I break it, it'll be over. Pfft. Your company is so low class. It's just a small piece, what important information. Aren't you ashamed? Enchanting retorted, her face full of disdain. Chapter 650. Chen Guang pushed the two of them aside and realized that they had clicked on the dozen or so high-quality movies that he had put together. What a cunning pair of eyes. Why are you still watching it when you know it's a small movie? We're watching you. After expending a lot of effort, Chen Guang finally managed to snatch his treasures back before glaring at the two of them. It's hard to guard against a thief in the house. I've already said that it's important information, so I really have no idea how you guys managed to pry it open. Wu Miaowan pointed at Enchanting. My dear, she's very good at picking locks. She's very familiar with these mechanisms. Little Miaowan, you betrayed me. Enchanting screamed. The two of them almost got into a fight again, but their attention quickly shifted to Chen Guang because he was packing up his computer and hard drive, planning to sneak back to his room. Breaking free from Wu Miaowan, Enchanting ran behind Chen Guang and asked sneakily, "What are you doing, Chief?" Chen Guang clenched his teeth and turned around. The old man wants to carefully check the integrity of the company's important assets. Wu Miaowan rolled her eyes, looking as if she had seen through him. I'm afraid the director wants to watch something inappropriate while doing something shameful on his own. Enchanting nodded. That's right. That must be it. And it's done in front of two cute little girls. How shameful. Scum. Scum. Disgrace to the light department. The two of them echoed each other. Chen Guang wanted to strangle them to death. Of course, if you're willing to talk to me about the Dancing Scroll, I don't mind offering to accompany you. Enchanting finally showed her true colors. What? Dancing Scroll. Wu Miaowan's eyes widened. She approached Chen Guang and grabbed his shoulder. My dear brother, I'm petite and skilled. Do you need a paid special service? You too, play the victory card. Chen Guang slammed the door shut and roared from inside, Chief's second order. The two of you go to sleep. Miser. That's right. I've never seen such a stingy bureau chief. Chen Guang pressed his back against the door and ignored the two of them. There was no movement outside. Perhaps they had really gone to sleep, but after waiting for a few minutes, there were murmurs coming from outside again. Wu Miaowan said, Sweetheart, won't he be angry if we covet the painting scroll like this? This is a big taboo in Jianghu. Enchanting said, Don't worry, little Miao Miao. Our big bro chief is super generous. Even if he's really angry, he'll be fine after a little coaxing. How should I coax him? Next time when he showers, we'll wrap a towel around him and scrub him. Remember not to wear underwear. Then, we'll quietly spread our legs and show him some light. I guarantee that all his problems will be gone. If that's the case, then it's really easy to coax him. Do you think he's really doing something bad in there? Of course. Let me tell you, he has no integrity and is completely shameless. Chen Guang opened the door. Can you two whisper any louder? At that time, Chen Guang swore in his heart that once he fulfilled his bet with Tang Ying, he would leave this place as soon as possible. At least, he had to stay away from these two. However, he did not expect that his promise would be fulfilled so quickly. He was still in a daze when he sat in the military vehicle heading straight for the airport the next morning. Chief Chen, please take a look. This is the list of the main equipment for this military exercise. There's a general introduction of the equipment. Chu Hanji, the head of Tingguang Brokerage's cleaning department, was sitting next to Chen Guang in casual clothes. He handed him a thick stack of documents. Chen Guang took the pile of documents and asked casually, "Didn't you say that the military exercise was the day after tomorrow? Why did it suddenly change to tomorrow? Can this kind of thing be changed at will? I didn't receive any notice." "It's like this, Chief Chen. This is the result of a meeting with a few old leaders last night. There are some new changes. Recently, some internal forces are not very obedient and have been sending people into Yanjing. So, the higher-ups have decided to hold the military exercise one day in advance to show them what we're made of," Chu Hanji said patiently. Chu Hanji patiently replied. This matter should be something that Chu Hanji had informed him on behalf of the old man, and Chu Hanji wanted him to pass it on to Chen Guang. Chen Guang nodded in understanding. "So that's how it is. Well, to put it bluntly, the old masters are still afraid of encountering a rash internal force martial artist who is eager to make contributions. If they really do something like self-explosion and cause trouble, then it'll be a big problem. Oh, there's also a very special reason. The head of the Wen family, Wen, has now appeared in Yanjing and clearly stated that she can participate in the military exercise tomorrow. However, if it's the day after tomorrow, she won't have time. The main reason for bringing it forward is probably because of this." Chu Hanji was afraid that he would miss out on something. "Oh, is that so? That's good. And not bad." Chen Guang's face was calm, but his heart was roaring. He thought that he was already considered a big shot now, but compared to Wen, it seemed that he was still too weak. To be honest, to bring forward the military exercise a day for her alone, he was really shameless. Luckily, the old man was thick-skinned and responded appropriately, or else he would have embarrassed himself. The person in the front passenger seat seemed to be an elder who was quite familiar with Chu Hanji. After Chen Guang and Chu Hanji finished talking about business, he turned around and joked, "Chief Chen, did little Chu cause any trouble for you at Tianguang Agency recently?" Chen Guang waved his hand. "Hi, how can that be? The company is cleaned every day, and I'm very satisfied with little Chu." Chu Hanji's throat seemed to be a little uncomfortable, and he started coughing violently. The elder was a little puzzled. "Isn't little Chu the assistant of the chairman, Chief Chen? He's even in charge of cleaning." Chen Guang patted Chu Hanji's shoulder silently. "Not bad, young man. You have the demeanor of a chief. The head of the cleaning department advertised you as the chairman's assistant. Your skin is as thick as the old man's." "Yes, the chairman's assistant is my right-hand man. He has to take care of everything in the company, no matter how big or small." "That's right." Under Chu Hanji's pleading gaze, Chen Guang silently said these words that went against his conscience. However, seeing that the kid had tactfully sent him a transfer of 2,000 yuan, it was not a big deal to betray his conscience for once. "All right, Chief Chen, take a good look at the information. These represent the most advanced technology in our military. This is not for the public, but for internal reference. You don't usually have the chance to see it." The middle-aged man with a star on his shoulder said again, and then he didn't say anything else. When they arrived at the airport, Chen Guang returned the top-secret information before getting off the car. He had to take the plane to Yanjing with Chu Hanji. When he was about to board the plane, Chen Guang was a little distracted. To be honest, he wasn't a military fan, and he never cared much about the military. But some of the equipment written in the top-secret information he had just read really made him unable to calm down. He even felt like it was science fiction and that he had been fooled. The bionic skin-type full-fitting armor that could increase the strength of the wearer. The embedded retinal multifunction sighting device that could synchronize with the gun with the heat sensor. The single-soldier handheld heat-seeking sniper rifle. That's right, the kind that could bend bullets. The full-fitting and half-fitting single-soldier combat armor that looked like a miniature Gundam. The single soldier flight backpack that weighed less than 30 kilograms, the maximum flight speed was more than 150 kilometers per hour, and it could fly at full speed for half an hour. There were more than 10 types of equipment similar to the above. If these things weren't written in the top secret information, he would probably be able to see the real thing at the scene tomorrow. Chen Guang would only think that he was reading a science fiction novel. The so-called "the country is rich and the people are strong, and technology is the #1 productive force." These words only stayed in Chen Guang's mind before, and he only took it seriously when he saw it today. No wonder the old men were now so strong-willed that they were finally willing to use the special division as an example. They were going to use a new attitude to deal with the internal forces. Their confidence came from the heavy pile of information in his hands just now. In the past 20 to 30 years, mankind had made great strides along the unprecedented broad road, and the level of technology was changing with each passing day. Televisions had evolved from black and white kinescopes to the current LED, OLED, and even curved screens. Cars had evolved from diesel to the current high-energy internal combustion and even pure electric. Green trains had become bullet trains and continued to move toward magnetic levitation and vacuum tubes. The communication method that relied on operators to connect one line after another had also changed to the current 4G and even 5G smartphones. The guns in the hands of soldiers had also changed from AK or M4 to thermal imaging laser rapid-fire automatic rifles recorded in the information. The main battle tank had also changed from the imitation Type 59 duck egghead to the world's top ZTZ-99 type. As for the Army 125 written in this information, it was incorporated into the modern technology in recent years, and the parameters were so fierce that it made people's hair stand on end. Although the current WZ-125 was only a few dozen top-secret engineering prototypes, it was enough to scare people. All of this changed too quickly and too violently. The individual weapons recorded in the information also represented the pinnacle of modern technology. Although it might not be able to be equipped on a large scale within a decade or two due to various reasons, it was more than enough to deal with the internal force martial artists. Chen Guang could imagine the expressions of the arrogant internal force martial artists during the individual military exercise. He was more and more confident in what he was going to do. These are all my backers. The more powerful my backer is, the stronger my backbone will be. Who asked you to be cocky? Who asked you to be arrogant? Who asked you to treat people's lives as grass? And who asked you to feel pain? He was a victim himself. He didn't have any feelings for the internal force martial artists, and he didn't think that they needed his sympathy. Sooner or later, they would have to pay for what they did. Anyway, the people who were close to him in the internal force martial artist circle were his own people. As for the others, they were all enemies. Thinking of the military exercise tomorrow, his heart gradually began to look forward to it. "Mr. Chen, get on the plane." Chu Hanji reminded him when he saw that Chen Guang was distracted. Chen Guang nodded. Sigh. "Everything is good except for one thing. I guess I'll have to go back on my word when I get back." Chu Hanji didn't understand. "Mr. Chen, what are you talking about?" Chen Guang patted Chu Hanji's shoulder like an old man. "Young man, you're still young. You don't understand the affairs of the elderly." "That's right." Chen Guang was still thinking about the bet with Tang Ying. She went back on her word last night and didn't honor it. Today, when he went to Beijing, he would first participate in the military exercise, and then he would have to attend the Big Beard's movie signing ceremony. It would be at least a few days before he returned to Beijing, and school would have started by then. By that time, with Tang Ying's old amnesia, she would probably not recognize him anymore. With this incomparably melancholy in mind, Chen Guang and Chu Hanji went straight to the first-class cabin of the airline. As soon as the two sat down, Chen Guang felt a little strange. The person sitting next to him was a little sneaky. She was wearing a wide-brimmed hat, and ever since he sat down, she had been covering her face tightly with the brim of the hat. She then curled up in the chair with her face facing the plane's glass window as if she had sprained her neck. Chen Guang unscrupulously sized up this woman. 10 seconds later, he grinned. Yo, Sister Ing, what a coincidence. Tang Ying turned her head and put on a smile that was uglier than crying. This is really too much of a coincidence. Chu Hanji, who was sitting next to Chen Guang, also popped his head out. Ah! Mr. Tang, why are you here too? Tang Ying remembered this Qingguang agency's cleaning chief. Chief Chu, what are you two doing in Beijing? Chu Hanji was speechless for a moment. Only then did he remember that he was carrying out a top-secret mission. Chen Guang coughed lightly. To help your brother earn money. Now that the company is so big, I can't just dawdle around like before. I have to take the initiative. Aren't we going to sign a movie contract in a few days? I'll go to Beijing first to see if there are any other jobs I can take on. It's not easy for us. It's such a big company, and I'm the CEO and the only signed artist. Why don't you make your debut too, Sister Ing? I think you have a lot of potential. Tang Ying rolled her eyes. Potential my ass. I'm someone who wants to win the Nobel Prize in medicine. Speaking of which, you're bringing a cleaning chief with you when you go out for business. You have such a unique taste. Chu Hanji hurriedly patted his chest and said, Mr. Tang, I'm definitely not going on a public holiday with Mr. Chen. Although our cleaning department doesn't have much say, we have a heavy responsibility. All the cleaning work in the company is our responsibility. As the chief, I have to personally take care of Mr. Chen's personal hygiene. I'm duty-bound. Tang Ying glanced at Chu Hanji with a playful look. You're right. If he forgets to zip up when he goes to the toilet, it's also your responsibility. Chu Hanji turned his face away. He felt that the more he said, the more mistakes he would make. It was better for him to play dead. Chen Guang keenly noticed that Tang Ying was deliberately changing the topic, so he forcefully pulled the topic back to her. You haven't told me what you're going to Beijing for. Tang Ying looked at him. If I say I'm going to attend the International Medical Conference, will you believe me? Do you think I'll believe you? Tang Ying spread her hands. I don't care if you believe me or not, I'll believe you. Actually, you're trying to cheat and run away. The plane is about to take off. The scenery outside is so beautiful. I'll stay wherever you stay tonight. I'm staying at Lady Tong's place. You want to come? Are you trying to challenge my courage? You shameful loser. Tang Ying began to act coquettishly and shook his arm. Don't be like this. Do you really think I can fly and hide in the sky? Give me a little more time. Just a little more time, okay? Chen Guang raised his head in a daze. There was nothing more sorrowful than a dead heart. Sigh, I'll disband Qingguang Entertainment when I get back. This company has already broken my heart. Tang Ying turned to look at him. She was really shocked by his expression when his acting skills burst out. It seemed that she had really hurt him. She felt a little apologetic in her heart. She was the one who proposed the bet first, and now she really wanted to run away quietly and bumped into him. At first, she thought that he had followed her to investigate her, but then she thought that he had a signing ceremony in Yanjing 2 days later. It seemed to be a coincidence, and she deserved to be unlucky. If I continue to act like this, it'll be a little too much. All right. I won't act shamelessly, okay? Tang Ying's eyes widened. Her face suddenly turned red. Then, she moved her mouth closer to Chen Guang's ear and whispered, later, halfway through the flight, I'll pretend to sleep on your lap, and you can find a loose jacket to cover my head. Then, you know what I mean. While I'm still in the mood, you have to seize the opportunity yourself. You won't get another chance like this if you miss it, okay? I'm really going to stay at Lady Tong's place. Even if you come, it'll have nothing to do with me. Don't let anything slip to her. Chen Guang's mouth opened wider and wider, forming an O shape. Delicious chicken. He was thankful for the first-class cabin and the row of seats. If it was the kind where one person could only have one seat, there would be no hope for today. It was just that this Chu Hanji beside him was a little annoying. If this bastard noticed something, wouldn't he lose all his prestige? Oh right, CEO Chin. CEO Tang, do you want some sleeping pills? It'll take a long time to fly from Beijing to Beijing. I have a special medicine here. I guarantee there won't be any side effects. Take one and you'll sleep soundly. You won't wake up until you reach the ground. Chu Hanji recklessly took out a small bottle from his luggage and fawned over to Chen Guang. He was not lying. This was a special medicine given to him by his uncle, Secretary Chu. Chen Guang's eyes lit up. Yo, Xiao Chu, what's the maximum dosage of this medicine you can take at one time? 3. What's wrong, CEO Chin? Then, you'll take 3. Why? When you worked at your previous unit, did you also ask why when your superior assigned you a task? Chen Guang looked at him meaningfully. Chu Hanji was stunned and broke out in a cold sweat. A minute later, with an inexplicable sense of grief and indignation, he gritted his teeth and threw 3 special sleeping pills into his mouth. Before he completely passed out, he finally realized something. CEO Chen and CEO Tang are having an affair. What a beast. No wonder he's the winner in life, Chief Instructor Chen. As the plane continued to roar, the plane from Beijing to Beijing pierced through the clouds. The thick clouds outside the window were like waves, and a bright red sun hung high in the distance. The sun above the clouds looked particularly dazzling. Tang Ying turned her head for a while and felt her eyes were a little sore. She looked back and saw Chen Guang staring at her blankly. She smiled charmingly and stretched. I'm a little sleepy. Chapter 651. Chen Guang continued to stare at her blankly. Perhaps it was because of the bright sunlight shining in through the window, but at this moment, Tang Ying looked exceptionally charming and moving. She was even more charming than when she was focused on the operating table with the scalpel. Although he had always known that she was beautiful, and that she also had a kind of strange charm that quietly moisturized everything, at this moment, her simple smile and even more simple stretching posture made her charm even more vivid and vivid. Chen Guang's eyes gradually straightened. Tang Ying's hands were raised high, and her chest looked especially straight because of her stretching posture. He couldn't help but think of the first time he met her in his car. At that time, she was drunk and curled up in his car like a little lazy cat. At that time, she was wearing tight casual pants that highlighted her slender thighs and perfectly round and perky buttocks, making her look particularly charming. This time, his focus was different, but it was even more captivating. Tang Ying's heart went numb under his fixed gaze, and her face became even redder. She stretched out a finger and lightly tapped his forehead. I thought that you, a dummy, only had eyes for Wu Tong and your teacher Zhua. Chen Guang shook his head like a wooden man. No, Sister Ying, you're also very beautiful. Compared to your classmate. Tang Ying had met Sun Xiaoxuan before, and she had a deep impression of this delicate girl from Jiangnan's water village. Chen Guang replied without hesitation, each has their own merits. You two are different women. It seems that Lady Tong was right about one thing. Tang Ying blinked her misty eyes. What did Sister Wu Tong say about me? She said that although you're a very responsible little boy most of the time, your willpower is so weak that people can't look at you directly. You're also very perverted, and your skin is super thick. Tang Ying began to slowly lean her body towards Chen Guang, her lips almost touching his earlobe. She exhaled a fragrant breath and said, Lady Tong told me that after you saved her, the two of you stayed in the hospital that night. You just listened to the sound of her bathing and you had an erection, right? At that time, I really thought that your kidneys were not light. Only later did I realize that you had deceived me so badly. As Tang Ying spoke, her breath gently brushed against Chen Guang's earlobe. The faint fragrance from her body wafted into his nostrils, causing him to feel something. Of course, Chen Guang knew what was going on. At that time, he had just mastered the Qilin arm. I'm not bragging, but if you find me a bent steel pipe and pass it through my hands, I can also squeeze molten steel out of it. Tang Ying's gaze drifted downwards, her face turning even redder, even to the tips of her ears. You're really dishonest. She yawned again. I'm really tired. I'll take a nap on your lap. As she spoke, she gradually lay down. Chen Guang's eyes widened. Tang Ying, who was pretending to sleep, pinched his thigh again. He quickly snapped back to his senses and pulled over the windbreaker that Tang Ying had placed beside her. He casually covered her body with it, then slowly pulled it up until it covered her entire head. It didn't take long before his pants were pulled open bit by bit. Then, he had no idea what was going on. Perhaps it was her hand, or perhaps it was something else. Sometimes it was warm, sometimes it was tight, and sometimes he felt a cool breeze blowing in through the gaps of the windbreaker. It was a feeling that was hard to describe with words. The biggest stimulation came from the environment he was in. Although the density of passengers in the first-class cabin was not as high as the economy cabin, there were still people in front and behind Chen Guang. Looking up, he saw a flight attendant sitting not far away, waiting for a passenger to summon her. She could get up at any time. Chen Guang straightened his neck and leaned hard against the back of his seat. His eyes were filled with confusion, but he was afraid that someone would notice something. He had no choice but to put on a serious face, as though he was deep in thought. This kind of feeling was too torturous. Under the windbreaker, Tang Ying seemed to be a little angry. Why was this guy so difficult to deal with? Then she raised her hand. Chen Guang's mind suddenly went blank. Even now, he still felt that it was unbelievable. How did things suddenly turn out like this? If the flight attendant came over and asked him if he needed anything, or if she was his fan and wanted to ask for an autograph, or if the people in the front and back rows raised their heads and found out that he was an omnipotent Superman, or if that unlucky guy Chu Hanji's sleeping pills were fake, he would wake up at this time. Well, no matter what the situation was, he might have to face the collapse of his life. The more afraid he was, the more intense the stimulation was. He began to feel nervous, hoping that this matter would end as soon as possible. But he was the strongest pile driver in history. The more afraid he was, the more things he had to worry about, and the more uncontrollable he would be. Chen Guang's heart beat faster and faster. He swore again and again that next time, he would definitely not be greedy for this kind of special stimulation. Why did he have to choose this kind of public occasion to do bad things? It was simply too scary, okay? But although he swore in his heart, his body was exceptionally honest. This was really the greatest enjoyment in the world. Unknowingly, his left hand pressed on the windbreaker tighter and tighter, and his right hand quietly moved under the windbreaker, pretending to hug Tang Ying's waist under the windbreaker, but in fact, he was moving up bit by bit. About 15 minutes later, finally, everything was over. This special situation, this special person, and this special feeling of tension made certain things happen faster than expected. He retracted his hand bit by bit. Before that, he slightly pulled down Tang Ying's messy clothes and arranged them neatly. His face regained its radiance of confidence, and there was no longer any trace of guilt on his face. As a person, it was better to be more confident. At the same time, his CK underwear was slowly pulled back. It seemed that Tang Ying had thoughtfully put a layer of tissue on it before this. The zipper was pulled back little by little. The whole movement was very gentle and very careful. Tang Ying pinched his thigh again. Chen Guang knew that she was almost done. He let out a long sigh of relief and touched his temple. There was cold sweat. Strange, why didn't she get up? Chen Guang was puzzled. She couldn't have fallen asleep, right? Hello, dear passengers. Would you like to drink coffee, tea, or Coke? At this time, the flight attendant who had been sitting at the head of the cabin suddenly stood up and then began to ask the passengers what they wanted to drink. Thank you, orange juice. Unfortunately, Chen Guang was in the third row. The passengers in the first row said that they didn't want anything, and the passengers in the second row asked for orange juice. Then the flight attendant quickly asked Chen Guang. When she got closer, the beautiful flight attendant seemed to notice Chen Guang's face. She was a little surprised at first, then she stared at him carefully. After a while, she reacted and said, "Hello, Mr. Chen. What would you like to drink?" Well, she recognized him. While speaking, the flight attendant looked down at Tang Ying, who was lying on Chen Guang's lap pretending to be asleep. There was a sense of curiosity in her eyes. Chen Guang grinned. Milk. Then his thigh was pinched by Tang Ying again, and he felt a sharp pain. Chen Guang swore that in the next customized special training, he must first train this thigh muscle. Sorry, Mr. Chen, we don't have milk. The flight attendant still had a professional smile on her face, but her eyes were clearly shining with the light of gossip. Coffee then, thank you. Chen Guang just wanted to send her away. The flight attendant quickly poured a cup of hot coffee for Chen Guang, and then began to hand it to Chen Guang. At this moment, Chen Guang was alarmed. A stewardess like you will definitely be fired. Sure enough, with Chu Hanji between them, her hand seemed to be a little unstable. The cup in her hand was shaking, and there was a risk that it would be knocked over at any time. This girl wanted to make a big news. She just wanted to know who was lying on her lap. When Chen Guang realized that something was wrong, it was already a step too late. The plane seemed to be shaking at the wrong time. Her hand shook violently, and the hot coffee spilled on Tang Ying's windbreaker. Ah! I'm sorry. Tang Ying felt a warm sensation on her neck, and she knew that she couldn't pretend anymore. She secretly glared angrily, and with a gulp, her tongue suddenly rolled around in her mouth. She then pretended to be sleepy, and straightened her body in a daze. What's wrong? What's wrong? Then she realized that her windbreaker had been splashed with a large amount of coffee. Fortunately, it was all blocked, and the clothes inside were not wet. The gossipy flight attendant looked flustered. She took out a tissue from her pocket and pretended to help Tang Ying wipe the coffee off. However, Tang Ying gave her a sweet smile. It's okay. I'm not wearing this anyway. I'll just take it back and wash it. Give me a glass of orange juice. That's right, it's aged orange juice. Thank you. Chen Guang's thigh was hit again. Sorry, we don't have orange juice. Coke it is then. Okay, Miss Tang. Tang Ying said in surprise, you know me. Yes, I saw Tingguang Agency's press conference a few days ago. I know you're the vice president of Tingguang Agency. Tang Ying laughed. Oh, you're also a fan of our Chen Guang. Yes, I've been following Mr. Chen's Weibo since a long time ago. I really like pencil carvings. When will Mr. Chen come out with new pencil carvings? Chen Guang laughed it off. There's no rush, there's no rush. He'll come out. It's a pity that we're not allowed to bring a penknife on the plane. Otherwise, I'd carve one for you right now. The gossipy flight attendant was finally sent away. Since she knew Tang Ying, it was fine. It didn't seem like a big deal that the vice president of Tianguang Agency was on good terms with Chen Guang. Chen Guang let out a long sigh and said to Tang Ying in a low voice, "This flight attendant must have only been working for a few days. She's too unprofessional. Even if she's a groupie, she shouldn't cause trouble on the plane." Tang Ying ignored him and continued to look out the window. No one knew what she was thinking. Chen Guang didn't know why she was angry and was very confused. Wait, I seem to have forgotten something. Maybe, Sister Tang Ying, you. Chen Guang probed anxiously. Tang Ying gulped down a mouthful of Coke. Old juice doesn't taste good at all. It stinks. Don't talk to me. I want some peace and quiet. Don't ask me who peace and quiet are. Chen Guang finally realized the problem and couldn't control his smugness. But high protein is very nourishing. It's good for beauty. Tang Ying turned around and grinned. Don't be so cocky. If you piss me off, I'll put you under anesthesia and cut it off. Chen Guang glared at her and touched his teeth. Sister Tang Ying, there's a line hanging from the edge of your teeth. Tang Ying rolled her eyes and turned her face away. Her throat moved, but no one knew if she was swallowing saliva or something else. Poor Chu Hanji. He didn't wake up even when the plane arrived at the station. He was carried by Chen Guang. After getting off the plane, Tang Ying didn't go with Chen Guang. She seemed to be really there to attend some medical conference. She got into the car arranged for her by the conference organizer and left. On the other hand, Chen Guang was more than happy. He threw Chu Hanji into the hongqi that his superiors had secretly arranged for him before he made another call. Since he had already lied to Tang Ying, then he had to cover it up. Since Tianguang Brokerage's people had nothing better to do, he might as well summon them all over to Beijing. Regardless of whether it was a vacation or a cover for him, it wouldn't be a problem. The stewardess on the plane also reminded Chen Guang that it was time to consider expanding the influence of the pencil-sharpening world. Among all the worlds in a cup that he had perfected, only the world of piano and the world of sharpening pencils had a daily production of faith value of 4 digits. Among them, the world of piano had a daily production of less than 3,500, and the world of sharpening pencils had a daily production of less than 1,500. Compared to the other worlds in a cup, it was really shabby. For example, the world of the sword tower and the world of darts were already maxed out. Even the world of the Kirin arm was 18,000. The world of the racing god training ground was as high as 26,000. The world of the pile driver was almost naturally maxed out. Up until now, he had only enjoyed the special training of building the strongest body for 3 months. The beggar version of the world in a cup that only required 600,000 faith points was too much for him. The poor version of the world in a cup wasn't much better either. The luxury version of the world in a cup that only required 1.2 million faith points for each session was barely acceptable. The need for faith points was infinitely large. It would be too much for him to rely on himself. He should make use of Tianguang Agency. Money wasn't a problem. It didn't matter how much losses he incurred. Anyway, the elders just wanted him to be a high-profile prodigal. Therefore, to quickly increase the production of faith points, he had to start with the world of pencil sharpening and piano. Yu Hong, Yu, Fang Tianyu, and Lu Xiaoyang have all come to Yanjing. You've all seen my Weibo, right? My next goal is to promote the influence of my pencil sharpening and microcarving skills. Help me think of ways. Be it spending money or hiring people, organizing activities or competitions, it's not a problem. I only have one goal, and that is to make me more famous. Let more and more people know that I'm good at this. Even sharpening pencils can be packaged as a high art. If possible, put it on UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage list. What? Afraid of losses? It's not time for our company to reap the harvest yet. Continuing to package my image is the most important. Find a big stage for me, a big platform, make me more popular. As long as I'm popular, our company won't fall. Do you understand? Time is tight, so all three of you come. Do your best. Try your best to accomplish something while I'm in Yenjing. Oh yes, I'm good at playing the piano too. To put it bluntly, I'm the best piano player in the world. The three of you have to think of ways to help me expand my reputation as the best pianist. Brag or create hype, it's not a problem. What? There's no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. Will others be unconvinced? I don't care who is unconvinced. As long as there are people who are convinced, it's fine. Furthermore, it's good that more people are unconvinced. Let's organize a competition and let them compete with me. Remember, for these few days, the most important thing is to sharpen pencils, the second is to play the piano, and then it's my turn to participate in Uncle Big Beard's movie signing ceremony. As for other commercials, visits, announcements, and the like, don't accept any of them. Also, don't do anything about the knife tower and darts. I'm not interested in these two things. After Chen Guang hung up the phone, Yu Hong and the other two looked at the business development plan that had just been sorted out and looked at each other. This plan was the blood and sweat of the company's middle management. It involved the packaging of Chen Guang's personal image and the entire business development system. From Weibo jokes to advertisements, to live streaming program planning, to advertising endorsement negotiations, and finally, a series of contracts that Chen Guang considered participating in variety shows and even esports promotions, all of which were rejected. Only one of them could be kept. Lu Xiaoliang was trying to find a connection, and if it was successful, he might be able to get Chen Guang to hold a piano concert in the Golden Hall of Vienna. However, it wasn't something that could be done in a short period of time. The three of them suddenly had a feeling. Why don't we pack up and go back home to farm? We'll starve if we follow CEO Chen. Chapter 652. Yu Hong felt that he was in an awkward situation. To think that I, the core member of the Tang Jia Foundation who was deeply trusted by Tang Shaokai, came all the way back to the country to be your right-hand man. Although Mr. Tang had previously said that it didn't matter if the company was making a profit or losing money, Mr. Chen's attitude was a little too casual. Alright, no matter how much Yu Hong felt, he still followed Chen Guang's instructions and went to Beijing with Fang Tianyu and Lu Xiaoliang to carry out the mission that Chen Guang had casually thrown out. It didn't matter if the boss's decision was stupid or not, but as the boss's subordinate, even if he knew that the decision was stupid and fraudulent, he still had to complete the task given by the boss since he was still receiving his salary. If he did his job properly, it would be the boss's fault if he lost money in the end. If he didn't complete the task given by the boss, he might not be happy even if he helped him earn money in the end. What if Mr. Chen really had a far-sighted plan and could use his sharp judgment to see through the market and point to the core of the company's development when they still couldn't understand it? What if what he said was right? Idiot! Wake up! They were getting closer and closer to a heavily guarded villa, but Chu Hanji was still snoring loudly. Chen Guang began to panic. If Secretary Chu knew that he had forced his nephew to take 3 hypnotic pills, Secretary Chu would fight him to the death, right? Finally, Chu Hanji opened his eyes in a daze. See Chief Chin, where are we now? I'm not very sure either. We just passed two especially large huangwa trees, the kind that would require 7 or 8 people to wrap their arms around it. The forest in front is very dense. I didn't expect there to be such a place in Beijing. Seeing that he had finally woken up, Chen Guang felt relieved. What? Chu Hanji let out a low cry, then abruptly came to his senses. He sat up straight and subconsciously tidied up his clothes. Why are you so surprised? Chu Hanji saw that he didn't take it seriously, so he reminded him softly, Chief Chin, we're almost there. Be serious. Chen Guang was even more puzzled. Do you have to be like this? Do you really have to be like this? I'm going to see the bureau chief. Chief Chen. Chu Hanji's breathing quickened. Yes, and then? Could meeting the bureau chief prolong one's life? Your ribs are about to break, aren't they? Chief Chen, are you really not nervous? That's the chiefs we're talking about. Patting on Su Tao's shoulder, Chen Guang replied, Lad, I've never felt that I'm a big shot in the past. But ever since I met you, I've started to believe that I do have the talent to become a big shot. He really didn't understand what those old men had to be afraid of. Anyway, even if he held a knife to his neck, he wouldn't be as inexplicably nervous as Chu Hanji. After passing through layers of extremely tight security, the car finally stopped outside a courtyard house with vermilion doors and sorghum. Chen Guang got out of the car. Secretary Chu was waiting at the door. He still had that warm smile on his face. As an exceptionally important secretary, he had truly done his best to be a person. Chu Hanji, who got out of the car with him, looked at his uncle nervously. He lowered his head and didn't dare to say anything. Secretary Chu first waved at Chen Guang. Little Chen, you're here. The chiefs are all waiting for you. Chen Guang greeted Secretary Chu and went in on his own. He didn't know where to throw Chu Hanji. This poor guy wasn't qualified to enter the courtyard house. As soon as he entered, Chen Guang saw a few old men sitting under a tree, shouting and playing chess. Old Jiang and Old Jean were sitting opposite each other, and a bunch of old men that he had never seen before were pointing fingers at each other. It was a lively scene, and there wasn't the slightest bit of tension or seriousness in the atmosphere. Recalling how Chu Hanji was so nervous that he started sweating, Chen Guang found it funny. Is there a need for that? Oh, little Chen is here. Great, let's talk about something. On the other side, old Jiang, who was scratching his ears and cheeks, looked around and saw Chen Guang when he raised his head, and he abruptly stood up. Don't you dare run. Finish this game. Old Jean didn't agree. Old Jiang quietly moved his big butt and touched the chessboard lightly. The chessboard was overturned, and with a clattering sound, black and white chess pieces were scattered all over the ground. Ah, the chessboard is overturned. Forget it, old Jean, I won't argue with you today. It's a draw, okay? Go to hell. I have at least 5 more eyes than you, and you have the cheek to say it's a draw. You disrespectful old man, I'm going to kill you. Old Jean rolled up his sleeves and was about to charge at him. All right. Be quiet. Don't let the younger generation laugh at you. An old man on the side coughed seriously and finally calmed the crowd down. Chen Guang looked at the group of old men quietly and thought to himself, although you say don't let me laugh at you, your bodies are exceptionally honest when you are fighting. It seemed that with his arrival, this unique game of chess and the amateur activity of gossiping about despicable people had officially come to an end. Old man Jean put down his dispute and ran over to pull him back. The other group of old men went to the main hall of the courtyard one after another. It seemed that they were going to discuss something. Chen Guang, come here. I have something to ask you. Old Jean smiled and pulled Qin Guang to a corner of the courtyard. The afternoon sun shone on the small courtyard, and the cicadas on the trees were singing the last song of summer. The leaves were blown by the wind, and the air was filled with the faint scent of grass and flowers. The scene looked very harmonious, but Qin Guang felt a chill in his heart. He didn't know why, but he was a little nervous when he saw this old man. Although he knew that he would have to see him in Beijing, he was terrified when he actually saw him. What if he forced me to marry him? How should I answer him? Sigh. Just thinking about it gives me a headache. Grandpa Jean, this, that. Fine, he could understand Chu Hanji's feelings a little. But that kid was born to be inferior to others, while he felt guilty. Unexpectedly, old Master Jean did not talk about Jean Shiriwa with him. Instead, he smiled and asked with concern. How is it? Are you enjoying your position as the head bureau chief? Nodding his head, Qin Guang replied, everything's fine. You came to Beijing alone this time, right? Are the two deputy chiefs staying in Beijing? Old Master Jean continued to ask with a smile. Qin Guang nodded. Yes. There are more things to do at the headquarters recently. Fortunately, they are helping me. Otherwise, I won't be able to handle it alone. He shamelessly asked for credit. In truth, Enchanting and Wu Miaowan had already done everything. He was even unwilling to look at the summary report. They would have to put a knife to his neck to do so. The two of them didn't cause any trouble. Did they listen to your orders? Old Master Jean widened his eyes slightly and seemed a little surprised. Qin Guang nodded. It's all right. Enchanting and Wu Miaowan are very obedient. Old Master Jin's eyes narrowed into slits. He seemed to be satisfied with Qin Guang. Since you said so, we can rest assured. We were worried that the people from the Thousand Despair sect and Thousand Flower Valley would be arrogant and unruly. I didn't expect you to make them so obedient. When I recommended you to be the head of the Guangding headquarters, many people had different opinions. You did a good job and didn't make things difficult for me. Only then did Qin Guang realize something. It seemed that it was an incredible ability to command Enchanting and Wu Miaowan around like a madman. When he thought about it, it made sense. The two little Lolas were inner force martial artists after all. They were highly skilled, and their personalities were jumpy. It was indeed difficult for ordinary people to control them. He had also relied on his charm to seduce them. He had relied on his personal charm. Perhaps it was the temptation of the painting scroll, or maybe it was his godly dart skills and fame in the global escort industry that helped Enchanting increase the influence of her Thousand Despair sect. In short, little Enchanting had inexplicably relied on him. At the same time, her bestie, Wu Miaowan, also became easier to talk to. So, this is what I'm capable of. I was born to do great things. Ha ha ha, Grandpa Jean, you flatter me. This is what I should do. Qin Guang cupped his hands slightly and said humbly with his head lowered. I'm not flattering you. You don't know how difficult it was for us to deal with inner force martial artists in the past. Otherwise, we wouldn't have made no progress in the past few decades. This time, we made up our minds and fought with our lives on the line, just to get things done once and for all. Those strong people are arrogant and unreasonable. That's why we came up with the idea of using martial arts to rule martial arts. If we want the Guangding General Bureau to escape the vicious circle of the Special Affairs Bureau, we have to cooperate with martial artists from the beginning and integrate them into our own system. However, in the past, our dealings with martial artists often ended on bad terms. It's extremely difficult for both parties to come to an agreement, but you've solved the problem. Of course, it's all thanks to you. Qin Guang asked curiously, but as far as I know, the Thousand Despair sect and the Thousand Flower Valley aren't very strong martial arts forces, are they? If you want to use martial arts to rule martial arts, you should at least find a strong enough partner, right? Old Man Jean rolled his eyes. Do you think we don't want to? However, the stronger the sect, the more arrogant they are. We can't even contact them, let alone work together. The Thousand Despair sect's abbess took the initiative to propose a partnership, and we're more than happy. Why would we be picky? Besides, using martial arts to rule martial arts doesn't mean that the martial artists were on good terms with our strong. They're just a link for communication. What really allows us to hold our heads up high is still the power in our own hands. As for which sect your two deputy chiefs are from, that's not important. Chen Guang nodded. That's true. Grandpa Jean, you're right. The older, the wiser. Don't let your guard down too much. For now, the Guangding General Bureau only needs to communicate with the Special Affairs Bureau's personnel who can be instigated. However, once the individual military exercise ends tomorrow, there will be martial arts forces spying on us one after another. At that time, how do we convey the spirit of the central government? How do we make these people vigilant and not dare to act recklessly without being overly sensitive and conflicted? How do the two sides reach a specific cooperation intention? That's the most difficult part of our work. Chen Guang began to feel dizzy. Old Man seemed to be in the zone, but I don't really want to hear about these things. I just want to take my revenge and help Wen solve her problems, okay? At present, the most basic standards we've set are as follows. First of all, we need to distinguish whether these people are real or fake. If we find people who are pretending to be, but actually have ulterior motives, or people who keep giving advice and acting recklessly, you need to report it immediately. If necessary, we'll use our military force to strike them down as a warning to others. If they're real, we need to have a detailed discussion with them. We need them to hand over a list of their members and the specific location of their sect. At the very least, we need to know which people are inner force martial artists. If we encounter a particularly weak sect, we can try to exchange techniques with them with suitable conditions. Chen Guang basically wanted to fall asleep. It was a hot summer day, and he was sitting under the shade of a tree. It was a good time to take an afternoon nap. In addition, the temporary administrative measures for inner force martial artists that we're drafting will also clarify the scope of their privileges. We won't completely deprive them of their privileges. After all, they're also capable people and deserve to be respected. However, their privileges will no longer be as boundless as before. It's strictly forbidden to treat ordinary people as if they were grass. Chen Guang's eyes narrowed, and he seemed to be listening very carefully. Once the cooperation between the two parties is confirmed, the other party will at least have to be registered in the Guangding General Bureau. Entering and leaving the country will also be regulated. If a large-scale fight inevitably breaks out, it must be reported and registered, and the innocent must not be harmed. Even if it's added later, it's acceptable. The registration of a sect will have a certain degree of economic and political advantage, but our ultimate goal is to form a deeper cooperation. Of course, all of this is just an armchair strategist like us old men. We still have to wait for the matter between the Wen family and the dark sect to come to an end. Right now, these two forces are in a fierce battle, and the outcome will affect the entire pugilistic world of inner force martial artists. We still need you to maintain communication with the Wen family and provide them with the necessary help. Currently, we're more optimistic about the moderate Wen family. Hey! Chen Guang! Chen Guang! Ha! Alright, Grandpa Jean. I'll definitely complete the mission. Hee, young man, I'm relieved that you're so confident. Old Master Jean patted Chen Guang's shoulder again. He was very satisfied with his high fighting spirit. Alright, I can tell that you don't like to stay with old guys like us. The side yard next door is a place for you young people to gather. Go there and wander around. Only the young people have a common language. I'm going in for the meeting." Finally, they could escape. Chen Guang and Old Master Ji nodded and were about to leave. "By the way, don't let Shuiwa down. She's really serious about you," Old Master Jean suddenly added behind Chen Guang. Chen Guang's body stiffened, and he slowly turned around like a wooden man. Just as he was about to say something to fool the old man, he realized that the old man had already stepped into the inner gate. He did not even wait for him to reply. Chapter 653. Secretary Chu had already walked over with a strange smile on his face. "Little Chen, come over here. There are quite a lot of youngsters here today. I'm sure you guys have something to talk about." Chen Guang didn't want to talk to any youngsters. His mind was filled with memories of what Old Master Jean said when he was in a daze just now. "Forget it, don't worry about the details. I'll just deal with it as it comes." Unlike the courtyard house where the old masters were, the side house next to it was much more lively. But when Chen Guang saw the bunch of youngsters that Old Master Jean mentioned, he felt a headache coming on. "The youngsters in your house are all old guys in their 40s and 50s. I should call the youngest one here uncle, okay?" "That's right, isn't that my uncle Wu Shanwu who is wandering around in the crowd? What the F***ck can I have in common with these old men? I just want to find a quiet place to hook up with the female fans on Weibo, okay?" That's right, the people gathered in the side house weren't the group of youngsters that he ate with at the youth hall last time. Instead, they were the parents of those youngsters. Currently, there were many youngsters who held real power in the country, be it in the military or in the political circle. In short, none of them were simple. In a sense, to Old Master Jean, they were indeed the standard youngsters. Like Shen Yuliang or those high school girls in the youth hall, they weren't even qualified to participate in the meetings and gatherings of this place. Perhaps Bai Hua was qualified to attend, but he was still considered a junior. "Yo, Brother Chen is here. Welcome, welcome." While Chen Guang was in a daze, a robust man donned in military uniform came over and patted Chen Guang's shoulder with a chuckle before calling him Big Brother Chen. Chen Guang looked at this man quietly and thought, "Uncle, you look quite similar to Old Master Jiang. Coupled with your body, bald head, and your fierce face with a big beard, for some reason, I really want to kneel down when you call me brother. Come, let me introduce everyone to you. Oh right, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Jiang Yuanchao, Jiang Yage's father. Young man, don't be nervous. I just lost a bet with Wu Shan. I said that if I lost, I would have to call you Brother Chin. It was just a joke. Don't worry about titles." The middle-aged baldy happily patted Chen Guang's shoulder and called him Brother Chin again. After that, he even raised his eyebrows provocatively at Wu Shan, who was standing awkwardly to the side. Chen Guang couldn't help thinking of the unreasonable baldy, Old Master Jiang, and then the equally unreasonable and unconventional Jiang Yage. At this moment, Jiang Yuanchao was completely in line with the logic of not being part of the same family. Uncle. No, he was half a father-in-law. You calling me brother makes me want to shorten my life. He wanted to die. Don't. Please don't. Uncle Jiang, you can just call me Little Chin or Chen Guang, or you can call me nephew. Please don't call me brother, it gives me goosebumps. Chen Guang struggled as he was pulled forward by Jiang Yuanchao. Sigh, you're so boring. Didn't I hear that you're very impudent? You can't even take a little joke, it's not fun at all. Jiang Yuanchao seemed to be joking as he said this angrily. By then, the two had reached Wu Shan's side. Wu Shan was amused by Chen Guang's timid behavior. Wu Shan couldn't help recalling Chen Guang, who had tried Su Lizheng and Wang Ren in court. At that time, Chen Guang was really unexpected. He was also cold and decisive. Compared to his current embarrassed appearance, Chen Guang seemed like a completely different person. Wu Shan smiled and leaned over. Chen Guang, don't be nervous. Jiang Yuanchao likes to joke around. He's already so old, but he's still so impudent. But in terms of rank, you're not much worse than us, so it's not a big deal to call you brother. How about I call you brother Chen too? Chen Guang's eyes widened. Oh my god, two father-in-law calling me brother at the same time, I'm so nervous. I'm going to get my karma. Seeing that he was about to turn and run, Wu Shan and Jiang Yuanchao stopped joking with him. They were elders, after all, and teasing Chen Guang was to help him blend into the environment. In fact, Wu Shan's feelings were extremely complicated. He understood his daughter's feelings for Chen Guang, but he also knew that this kid wasn't just a fish in a pond, nor was he someone easy to deal with. Unknowingly, more and more people noticed him. Putting aside his temperament, who would have thought that in his not-so-muscular body, there was actually an explosive force of 800 kilograms of fist force. How terrifying was that? He was definitely not as simple as he looked on the surface. If he had a choice, Wu Shan really wanted to have a good talk with Wu Tong and ask her to stay away from Chen Guang, so far away that she would never see him again. But Wu Shan knew that this was just his wishful thinking. He had already put in a lot of effort to make Wu Tong stay in Yanjing, and Chen Guang had even asked for it. Based on his father-daughter relationship with Wu Tong, she would do whatever he wanted her to do. Forget it, I'll just let it be. That brat, Chen Guang, isn't like Shimin Qing or Chen Shimi without a conscience. He has his own responsibilities, and if my daughter really wants to fly into the fire, how can I stop her? From the moment Wu Shan made the decision to agree to let Shijiu bring Wu Tong onto the helicopter even though he knew that there was a bomb on the helicopter, Wu Shan knew that he had no right to interfere with any of Wu Tong's decisions. This was because her life was saved by Chen Guang. If it weren't for Chen Guang, Wu Tong and Shijiu would have been blown up into a cloud of fireworks in the sky. He could lie to others, but he couldn't lie to his own heart. On the other side, Jiang Yuanchao had already started introducing Chen Guang to the people one by one. Just as Chen Guang had expected, these people were all big shots from various departments, provinces, or military regions. They were all young people, or more precisely, young and vigorous. Even though he knew that his current status as the head of the general administration of Guangding was not much lower than that of the people present, he still felt awkward. There was really nothing to talk about with these uncles. What made him most uncomfortable was that there was something magical in the world of these adults. That was, when others greeted you with a warm smile on their faces, but in fact, there was deep disdain and jealousy hidden in their eyes. To put it bluntly, Wu Shan was probably the only one here who was really familiar with Chen Guang. Jiang Yuanchao probably had a good impression of Chen Guang because he often heard Jiang Yage talk about him. As for the others, it was the first time that they had met Chen Guang in person, so they were completely unfamiliar with him. Where there were people, there would be Jianghu. This so-called Jianghu was the way of the world. To put it bluntly, it was competition. To put it even more bluntly, it was factions. Wu Shan, Jiang Yuanchao, Jin Shiyue's father and Xue Lin's father, Xue Zhan, should belong to the same faction. Although the courtyard was bustling with dozens of people walking around in groups of twos and threes, with smiles on everyone's faces and warm greetings, there were actually at least 3 to 4 different forces and factions here. In their seemingly meaningless chatter, there were hidden blades and swords. It was hard to understand if one did not personally experience it. Sometimes, even in this kind of informal and casual social occasion, a wrong word or a wrong attitude could bring far-reaching consequences. Chen Guang was young and did not come from a prominent family. He was inexplicably pushed to his current position. Although he did not take it seriously, and the people here who really knew his identity as the director of the Guangdong General Bureau were only talking about a few core members, just from the fact that Secretary Chu brought him here, it could be seen that in the hearts of the elders, Chen Guang was on the same level as all the young people here. His appearance made the already turbulent social occasion even more turbulent. There would always be people who were jealous and dissatisfied. Chen Guang was too young, and his appearance was too sudden. Compared to these people who had climbed to their position step by step, it was too unreasonable. In the eyes of some people who knew a little inside information but did not know everything, Chen Guang was able to attend this occasion because of the Jin family's care for him. But this care was too much, and even Lin Jingwei was not qualified to do so. As one of the core members here, Jiang Yuanchao also acted too familiar with Chen Guang, which stung many people's hearts. No matter how easygoing their smiles were, how could the jealousy and hatred in the depths of their eyes escape the eyes of Chen Guang, the world-class acting master? Although they were experienced, skilled in deception, and each of them boasted of their excellent acting skills, Chen Guang was the best acting master in history. Hence, he didn't want to stay here, nor did he want to stay here. As an old monster that has lived for 200 years, Chen Guang didn't want to argue with these people. Perhaps the old masters had good intentions, letting him show Jiang Yuanchao and Wu Shan around in this kind of occasion. If he really wanted to enter politics in the future, this was a rare opportunity for him to practice. But he did not like it. You guys treat it like a treasure, but I throw it away like a broken broom, okay? Well, Uncle Jiang, Uncle Wu, I'm a little sleepy. Why don't you guys talk? I'll find a place to rest. After exchanging a few words with the last group of people and being praised for being a talented young man, Chen Guang bade farewell to Jiang Yuanchao and Wu Shan and was ready to leave. Before Jiang Yuanchao and Wu Shan could say anything, a middle-aged man in a suit came over and said with a fake smile, "Little Chen, your body is a little weak. You're so young, but you're already sleepy in the middle of the day. How are you going to take on heavy responsibilities in the future?" Chen Guang turned his head to look at this man. He had just had a brief conversation with this slightly chubby middle-aged man with mixed silver and white hair. Unlike the others, who mostly had disdain and jealousy in their eyes, this guy's eyes were clearly filled with hatred. If he remembered correctly, this man was a director of the Ministry of Finance, in the same department as Su Lizheng, who had already ascended to heaven. He might even be Su Lizheng's student. An enemy, no doubt. Many people were also paying attention to this side. It seemed that everyone wanted to see Chen Guang's reaction, to see how shrewd he was. Being famous at a young age was not scary, but being mature at a young age was really scary. In fact, it wasn't that Chen Guang didn't know how to be shrewd, but for this kind of person who stood up for Su Lizheng to disgust him, he really didn't need to say a few words. "I don't have any heavy responsibilities, and I can be sleepy whenever I want. You don't have to worry about me." As soon as he said this, many people in the hall looked at him with playful eyes. Sure enough, young people were hot-tempered. Wasn't the subtext of his words, "None of your business"? Not only was the official from the Ministry of Finance not angry, but his eyes lit up. "Why don't I have to worry about you? I'm an elder, so it's natural for me to care about the younger generation. You're the pillar of our country, so you have to take care of yourself." Chen Guang's eyes gradually narrowed. Yes, that's right. According to age, many of the people in this hall are indeed my elders. I admit that I look young, but it doesn't feel right coming from your mouth, does it? Who the hell likes to recognize elders? It's natural for me to call those who are close to me uncle. But who do you think you are? I don't even remember your name, and you have the cheek to call yourself an elder. Sorry, I'm not close to you. Chen Guang's face turned cold as he said indifferently, so sir, please don't lecture me. Suddenly slapped in the face in front of everyone, this young man from the Ministry of Finance was caught off guard. He didn't expect this kid to be so irritable in this kind of situation. Do you even understand what kind of place this is? Who are these people you're talking to? Do you still want to walk this path in the future? Young people are still hot-tempered. If you can't keep your cool, how can you take on heavy responsibilities? Little Chen, your current identity is different from the past, and your position is also very sensitive. You have to be steady, otherwise, I'm afraid you're not suitable for such an important position. At this moment, a middle-aged man in military uniform stood up and interrupted. It seemed like he was one of the core members who knew Chen Guang's position, but he didn't seem to be on the same side as Jiang Yuanchao Wushan. Chen Guang looked at this person and rolled his eyes. Fine, you guys are taking turns to lecture me. Don't put on the airs of an elder in front of me. You just want to provoke me, or vent your dissatisfaction with me. Otherwise, you just want me to lose my temper and leave the impression that I'm incompetent. Then, you can go back and criticize me to the elders. You can replace me with someone you think you can rely on to be the director of the General Administration of Light. He was well aware of these people and started to get annoyed. It was true that he didn't want to go into politics from the beginning. It had only been a short time, and he was already disgusted. Chao Jingming, it's not up to you and me to decide whether Chen Guang is suitable or not. The elders have their own considerations, and this is the result of their discussion. It's not up to us to make irresponsible remarks. If you have any opinions, you can bring them up directly. Don't be sarcastic here and let people laugh at you for no reason. Jiang Yuanchao put on a straight face and defended Chen Guang. Chapter 654. Yuanchao, you seem to be in a bad temper recently. Why are your words so harsh? You're already angry. Did I say anything wrong? The military figure named Chao Jingming immediately turned his attention to Jiang Yuanchao, who spoke up for Chen Guang, with a smile still on his face. Don't play games with me. I don't like it. Chen Guang, let's go. Jiang Yuanchao tried to pull Chen Guang but found that he couldn't move him. He seemed to be nailed to the ground, not moving an inch. Wu Shan covered his forehead. Damn, this kid's temper is coming back. Chao Jingming, on the other hand, felt that he had achieved his objective, so he continued with a smile, I'm just saying a few words. Those people are harder to deal with than us, and Chen Guang's temper is going to cause trouble. The country's affairs can't be taken lightly, so isn't it only right for the old man to reconsider? Yuanchao, you're right. I'll talk to the elders later. Alright, let's stop here. Don't throw a tantrum. We still have business to talk about later. There are still many details that we haven't settled on for the red-blue military drill in a few days. Chen Guang was really disgusted by this person. After saying all the ugly words, he turned around and talked about business with you. He didn't know what others thought of him, but he really couldn't stand it. Mr. Chao, great minds think alike. No, bears think alike. I also feel that I'm not suitable. Otherwise, who do you think is more suitable to be the bureau chief? I'm really not interested in accompanying you. It's boring, disgusting, ugly, and dirty. He finally broke free from Jiang Yuanchao's arm and said, Uncle Jiang, don't worry about me. You guys talk. I'm leaving. Seeing that Chen Guang still wanted to leave after cursing, Chao Jingming felt a little unhappy. The reason why the old patriarchs got Secretary Chu to bring Chen Guang over was to integrate him into their circle. If this matter were to spread out, others might even think that he was the one who forced Chen Guang to leave. Little Chin, what did I say to you just now? Where did your temper come from? Don't you have any respect for your teacher? I'm trying to reason things out with you for your own good. Yet, you're throwing a tantrum and walking away at the slightest provocation. What is this? I'll pretend that I didn't hear you calling me a coward, and I'll tolerate you calling me disgusting, ugly, and dirty. It's all because you're young, but don't go too far, right? Chao Jingming still had a very calm expression on his face, as if he was really letting Chen Guang have his way. In this way, if Chen Guang really left, no one would say anything wrong with him. Exactly. You have no respect for your elders. That person from the Ministry of Finance started to show off again. Chen Guang almost laughed out loud. Standing at the entrance of the small courtyard, he turned around to look at the group of people who were behaving like monsters and snakes. He then nodded at Jiang Yuanchao and Wu Shan and suddenly grinned. I say, everyone, don't you all feel tired living like this? You're always so secretive and deceitful. Just thinking about it makes my hair stand on end. I really can't live another day like you. You think you're surrounded by a treasure trove of feng shui and think that I have to stick to you wholeheartedly. But in my opinion, you, the two of you, stink to the heavens. The two of you have turned the entire courtyard into a cesspool. He pointed at Chao Jingming and that person from the Ministry of Finance and said straightforwardly. After that, he turned around and left without a moment's hesitation. Did he really not understand what his words and actions meant? No, of course, he understood. If it was not a big deal, it could be said that he could bear with it for a while and it would not cost him anything. To him, this was not difficult at all because of his superb acting skills. But ever since he realized what the elders were thinking, he really did not want to stay here anymore. He never thought that he could be a politician. Today's experience in less than an hour made him even more certain of his thoughts. Yes, I can do my best to cooperate with you all and act better than all of you, but I don't want to. I'd rather die than live like this. His act of throwing a tantrum in front of everyone seemed childish and impulsive, but in fact, he was deliberately throwing the difficult problem back to the elders. He was deliberately telling them, you guys better save it, I'm really not cut out for this. Alright, he was preparing to quit. This is just a small matter and you guys are already making me so disgusted that I can't even eat. If I have to deal with you all every day, won't I go crazy? A good sentence, but he could change it up in a variety of ways. If it was a simple matter, he would not talk to you properly, but he would sneakily pull out a small knife from his back and stab you in the ass while talking. Also, the same words that could be found in the Xinhua dictionary were combined to form a phrase in their mouths. When used by them, they all had different meanings and purposes. Chen Guang understood every word that Chao Jingming and the person from the finance department said. But it was precisely because he understood everything that he felt especially disgusted. So he really flipped the table and left. The old man was not going to play with you all anymore. It would be best if the elders really think that I'm not reliable. When Wenwen's matter is over, I can really quit. Otherwise, I won't even be able to resign, and I won't even be able to cry. I can also scold people at the same time. The person I scolded just now should not be an ordinary person. For some reason, I feel a little smug and a little ripple in my heart. Later on, I can boast a brother by Hua for 10 years. Even if I gave them 10,000 guts, they would not dare to do it. That's right. Chatting with them is called chatting. Chatting with these people is like fighting with bayonets. Every stab will see blood. It is boring and tiring. Humph. This guy. Chao Jingming's face was swept clean. Finally, he could not laugh anymore. His face was livid for a few seconds before he suddenly flung his sleeves and turned to leave. This was the first time he had been scolded so badly by a junior. But now, he really could not do anything to Chen Guang, the director of the Guangdong General Administration. No matter how angry he was, it was useless. When he angrily returned to his own people, he finally could not control his temper and said angrily, "This little bastard really doesn't know any etiquette. I really don't know what the elders are thinking. How can they let this kind of person sit in that position?" The person next to him came up and asked, "Brother Chao, what position is it?" Chao Jingming looked at him angrily. "Don't ask what you're not supposed to ask." "Fine, fine. But no matter what, he is too favored. If the elders spoil him like this, there will be problems. Isn't that right? How old is he? He is always doing things on the internet, and his personal life is not clean either. He doesn't even know that the Jin family's elder." "Sure. You can't talk about this. You can't mention it. It will cause a commotion." "Fine, let's not talk about it. Anyway, I don't think he is qualified to come to our meeting today. Even young Master Bai is not here, is he?" Chao Jingming looked at the group of people talking and gradually felt comfortable. He thought to himself, when the time is right, I will find a way to get him out. That position is too important. If it is not handled well, there will be a river of blood. To deal with an inner force martial artist, one must be smooth and slick. No matter what, it is not a hothead like Chen Guang who throws a tantrum. As for the possibility that Chen Guang might bear a grudge against him, Chao Jingming did not care. He was not a pushover. If he did not fight for these things, then what was the point of fighting for them? That was an important position to replace in the Special Affairs Bureau. Whoever was in power would be able to influence the political situation in the future. It was so important that it was worth a gamble. On the other hand, Wu Shan and Jiang Yuanchao were talking in a low voice in a corner. They were not as troubled as Chen Guang had imagined. Both of them looked calm, but there was a hint of joy in their whispers. "This kid is really smart," Jiang Yuanchao said. Wu Shan nodded. Indeed. In an instant, he made a prompt decision and saw through the core of the problem. His brain works really fast. If my youngest son had 1/10 of his ability, I wouldn't have such a headache. That daughter of mine, Sai, let's not talk about her. What's wrong? Jiang Yuanchao asked curiously. Wu Shan shook his head. Let's not talk about my daughter. Chen Guang might seem to be behaving arrogantly today, leaving the impression that he's a hothead. If it wasn't for me personally witnessing how he flipped Su Lijing upside down and how he forced Su Lijing into a dead end with just a few words, I would have nearly been fooled by him as well. With just a few words, he drew a clear line between Chao Jingming and those people in the finance department the first time we met. He also left us behind on the surface, but in fact, he was secretly on our side. What an amazing kid. The younger generation will surpass us in time. He will definitely become a great person. Jiang Yuanchao concluded. Wu Shan shook his head slightly. No, he is already a great person. In fact, if Wu Tong was here, she might have blushed at Wu Shan's words because she knew that Chen Guang was a great person. She did not know if he was a great person, but she was sure that he was a great person. When Chen Guang went out, he bumped into Secretary Chu, who seemed to be taking a stroll outside and waiting for instructions. Hey, Xiao Chen, why are you out so soon? Chen Guang waved his hand in distress. I can't stay here anymore. This is such a lousy place. I can't even talk to people in circles. It's so annoying. Why? You don't like it? Secretary Chu smiled as he sized him up. Chen Guang nodded. Not only do I not like it, I hate it. Oh right, Uncle Chu, tomorrow is the military drill, right? can you arrange a place for me to rest? I need to find a place to hide myself. These things in the industry are really not my forte. Secretary Chu nodded. Sure. Oh right, Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei are having dinner together tonight. Do you want to go? Chen Guang was amused. That's good. I should chat with them. It's disgusting. After he agreed, he felt a little regretful. Bai Hua wouldn't be so bored as to mention Chen Yu every time they met, right? It shouldn't be that boring, right? Chen Guang, when are you going to fulfill the promise you made last time? F***ck, this guy is really that bored. Sitting at the dining table, Chen Guang looked at Bai Hua bitterly. That's right. He didn't know when it started, but he was sitting in the middle with Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua on his left and right. Xiao Lin Zi also poked her head over. Brother Guang, you are now CEO Qin, the CEO of such a big company. You have to keep your word. Chen Guang silently turned his head. He felt that his grandson's smile was really cheap and meaningful. But in the end, he wasn't good enough to completely read a person's mind. Although there were thousands of doubts in his heart, he still didn't know what Lin Jingwei was showing off about. Chen Guang put down his chopsticks and sighed. Brother Bai Hua, it's not that I want to scold you, okay, I know. Don't worry, I was just joking with you. I know you are a man of your word. Don't worry, I'm not worried at all. If this has caused you trouble, I apologize. Bai Hua interrupted Chen Guang. Chen Guang's mouth was wide open. He wanted to strangle this guy to death. After 3 rounds of drinking, Shen Yuliang, who hadn't dared to come up to the dining table to talk, finally mustered the courage to come up to him. Holding a glass, he cautiously said, Brother Chen Guang, do you want a drink? Chen Guang looked up at this guy. Although last time wasn't very pleasant, it wasn't a big deal. Someone had taken the initiative to express goodwill, and if he didn't accept it, he would seem too narrow-minded. Fine, I'm narrow-minded. But today, I'll be generous and give Shen Yuliang a chance. He picked up his glass, stood up, and clinked it with Shen Yuliang. Then he quickly tilted his head back and downed it. You're too polite. I'll drink first as a sign of respect. Shen Yuliang was overjoyed and followed suit. The other people at the table who had been secretly paying attention to the two of them secretly heaved a sigh of relief. In fact, as long as they talked to him nicely, he was really easier to deal with than they had imagined. Shen Yuliang silently turned his face away and wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes. In fact, he had almost been ostracized these days. It had been really hard for him. Originally, he didn't have a place at the table, but Lin Jingwei had called him, so he dared to come. Now that they had finally buried the hatchet, he could be considered to have crossed this hurdle. Brother Chen Guang, I'm actually also a fan of the almighty Superman, and I also play Dota Tower. You have more than 4,000 points in the stairway competition. I watched the whole process of your previous competition, and it really made my eyes brim with tears. Another glass. No problem. Let's queue together when we're free. I'll bring you along to show off and fly. Chen Guang found Shen Yuliang much more pleasing to the eye. People who could like Dota Tower couldn't be that bad. Alright, those who liked to play Dota Tower were also good people. The two of them drank another glass. I won't find excuses for this last glass. This is my self-punishment. Brother Chen Guang, I'm sorry. What happened before was my fault. Just as Chen Guang finished drinking, Shen Yuliang on the other side quickly poured himself a third glass. This time, it was in place, really in place. It's okay. Let bygones be bygones. I'll drink a glass too. Although Shen Yuliang was punishing himself, Chen Guang didn't make things difficult for him and drank a third glass. Actually, as long as others gave him face, he didn't even need to lower his voice. Everyone could be like that and talk nicely. Chen Guang wasn't a hedgehog with all its hair standing on end. He also didn't like to cause trouble or make enemies. Now that they had met and smiled, and 3 glasses of wine to resolve their grudges, it could also be considered as putting an end to the previous mess. Shen Yuliang was able to appear at this table because he had grown up with Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua. It was just that he thought too highly of himself previously, and the jealousy in his brain couldn't be turned around, so he caused some trouble. The atmosphere at the table eased up, and instantly became lively. Everyone drank with each other, and there was no longer any ill feelings or tension. As the wine immortal of the Sea of Moments, Chen Guang naturally didn't reject anyone. With just you bunch of small fries, you want to defeat me? You think I can't drink you to death? In the end, this table of wine really helped him negotiate a lot of big things. Chapter 655. Shen Yuliang was one of the major shareholders behind the scenes, and he was trying to mend their relationship. Chen Guang was China's #1 internet celebrity, and he used to be a chauffeur for the popular internet company. He had thousands of orders, and he wasn't just putting on an act. He was actually driving a sports car himself. If the internet company needed to find a spokesperson, there was no better candidate than Chen Guang. Now that the internet company had just acquired a competitor, it was in the limelight. Shen Yuliang wanted to take advantage of the situation, and it was just right to invite a heavyweight spokesperson. When it was about time, Shen Yuliang used the alcohol to boost his courage and suggested to invite Chen Guang to be the spokesperson for the leading internet company in the country. Chen Guang didn't even hear the endorsement fee that Shen Yuliang threw at him, and he immediately agreed. It wasn't a big deal anyway. Now that the two of them had taken the lead, the rest followed suit. Chen Guang couldn't remember how many endorsement contracts he had agreed to today. Anyway, he only had one request, and that was not to do too many things. He could use the rights to his portrait, but he had to make sure he looked handsome. That's it. It wasn't that he couldn't shoot a commercial, but it couldn't be too troublesome. The female lead also had to be. Considering that Jin Shuyue was also in the industry, he stopped himself. Anyway, don't make me run all over the place. Do whatever you can to save me trouble. Everything else is negotiable. He wasn't worried that these people would cheat him on the endorsement fee. They wouldn't dare to. They were all in the same industry now, and they would see each other all the time. There was no need for them to fight over money. Today, they had taken the initiative to bring it up a step further. There was no need to be so hesitant, and it came to matters of mutual consent. Although everyone was a little tipsy, everyone's mind was as clear as snow. In the end, even Bai Hua was a little eager. He pulled Lin Jingwei and asked, "Jingwei, what do you think Tianjin Energy needs to endorse?" Lin Jingwei rolled his eyes. "You can try to get him to endorse your newly developed solar energy generator set." "Yes, that's right. It's the one with the highest conversion rate in the world. This endorsement is guaranteed to be effective. Brother Guang also has the word light in his name. It's so fitting." In the end, Bai Hua endured it, afraid that he would make a fool of himself. While Chen Guang was happily eating and drinking at the table, his 3 right-hand men of Tianguang brokerage were sitting in a hotel room, frowning. "Boss Chen's mission is so difficult. I have no clue." Fong Tianyu lit another cigarette. This was the second pack of cigarettes he had ordered tonight. Yu Hong's eyebrows were also tightly knitted together. He did not smoke, and Fong Tianyu's second-hand smoke made him dizzy. The direction that Boss Chen mentioned is indeed a bit too broad. As for how to implement it specifically, I really can't think of it. Pencil sharpening, microcarving, how are they going to promote it? Besides, who would be interested in sharpening pencils? I can't even find a clue to promote it. It's not easy to find someone to hype it up. Even if the major media picked up on the news, it would be useless. We can't possibly get someone to print flyers saying that the almighty Superman Chen Guang is the best sharpener in the world and distribute it everywhere. Lu Xiaoyang was wearing a mask and sunglasses. He could not help it. He was also suffering from the smoke. Damn, old you. Why are you crying? Fong Tianyu was also shocked. He reached out his hand and patted Yu Hong's shoulder. Old you, don't be sad. Let's think of a way together. Coincidentally, the finger that Fong Tianyu extended was the finger that was holding the cigarette. Yu Hong's tears flowed down. Crying. He really cried. A super professional was actually troubled by Boss Chen's order. This was a tragedy. Old Fong, can you extinguish your cigarette? If you continue to smoke me for a while, not only will I cry, I will also go blind. Yu Hong had endured for a whole night and finally said this. Only then did Fong Tianyu react, and he quickly stubbed out his cigarette. Sigh, what should we do? Why don't I try to find some people to send out some hydrology spear scripts? After Fong Tianyu cleaned up, Lu Xiaoyang said. It's not that it's impossible, but I always feel that this doesn't seem to be of any substantial help to the development of the company. Yu Hong sighed. Fong Tianyu sighed as well. Chief Tang has really given us a big problem. How are we going to help Chief Chin get this company up? Sigh. Paw. He lit another cigarette. Lu Xiaoyang picked up his teacup and took a sip. A stream of tea shot out from his mouth and extinguished Fong Tianyu's cigarette. Old Fong, old you is going blind. But face, you little b asterisk tch, Fong Tianyu muttered to himself. F asterisk ck, how do you know my name is but face? Chief Chen said so. Yu Hong added, he spoke to me in English just now. President Chen's spoken English is really good. His pronunciation is perfect, his pronunciation is clear, and his thinking is quick. He said your English name is Three Dog Boy. Lu Xiaoyang, sigh, I entrusted this to the wrong person. The three of them started to feel melancholy again. They really didn't know where the hope in life lay. On the other hand, Chen Guang had a comfortable meal. All the injuries he suffered in the dilapidated courtyard in the afternoon were healed. When the banquet finally ended, it was around 10 p.m. Lin Jingwei wanted to ask Chen Guang to stay at his house, but Chen Guang had to go to the military exercise with a group of people the next morning. Lin Jingwei wasn't qualified to attend, so Chen Guang took a private car back. Lin Jingwei laughed at him. You're flying faster than me, driving a direct train. Chen Guang patted his shoulder. Save it. Can't you see that I'm having a headache now? Actually, I can see it. Otherwise, why do you think I went to the 5 capitals to study? Isn't it because I want to hide further away? Chen Guang sighed. We're all in the same boat. Lin Jingwei also sighed. That's why we became gay friends in this life. Scram. When Chen Guang stayed in the Shishan guest house arranged by Secretary Chu, Chen Guang sobered up a little. He started to take out the business cards he just received and threw them on the bed. Then, he called Lu Xiaoyang. Compared to Yu Hong and the rest that Tang Shaokai sent over, Chen Guang trusted Lu Xiaoyang more. Although he hadn't interacted with Lu Xiaoyang for a long time, they've watched a film together. With Chen Guang's confidence in acting, he could tell that Lu Xiaoyang was a reliable person despite coming from 8 Weekly. Wait, everyone. Chief Chen is calling me. Don't tell me there's a new order at this time. Lu Xiaoyang stood up from his chair, pulled off his mask and said excitedly. Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu looked up at him and let out a long sigh. Chief Chen is finally enlightened. He also knows that this matter is not reliable, right? That's right. It's good to know one's mistakes and correct them. Chief Chen is talented. Although he was a little young and his train of thought was a little too wild, extraordinary people did extraordinary things. Just when everyone was at their wits' end, he used an unknown method to make Lu Chao submit to him. He sold 8 copies of the magazine for $1 and finally averted a great crisis. From the looks of it, he was indeed a talented general. Lu Xiaoying answered the phone. Chief Chen, what can I do for you? It was past 11 o'clock at night, which was quite late. A call at this time must be an important decision. Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu held their breaths and hoped that he would take back his decision. Chen Guang shook his head and picked up a business card. Then, he said, But face, do you have a pen and paper with you? I'll read out a name, and you write down a name and phone number. Tomorrow, people from these companies will contact you one after another. Then, you 3 can discuss and communicate with each other. Do it properly for me. Lu Xiaoyang was surprised. What? What's the matter? Many companies. Chen Guang replied, Yes, endorsement contracts with many companies. Endorsement contracts? Chief Chen, didn't you say that you wouldn't accept them? Lu Xiaoyang repeated deliberately and then looked at the other 2 with a sad face. The other 2 shook their heads and sighed. Alas! There is no end to the hard times. Chen Guang smiled. I don't want to trouble you, and I don't want you to run back and forth just to sign a contract, right? Look at other endorsers, who always work for other people's commercial activities and shoot an advertisement for me. Isn't it troublesome? But this time is different. They are all my friends, and we are helping each other. It's like giving money to me. I don't have to do anything. Anyway, you don't need to care about the price when you negotiate with others. You just need to figure out the procedure and communicate with each other. Sign the contracts if they don't do anything stupid. Okay. Comrade Xiao Lu didn't expect what kind of fright he would receive later. He thought that the so-called friend Chen Guang was referring to was probably some rich second-generation boss of a small rundown company who would casually make a decision for him. Then I'll start reading the names. Okay, Chief Chen. I've prepared the pen and paper. Online company. What? The first name made Lu Xiaoyang dizzy. He exclaimed in surprise. Of course, he knew about this online company, which had just merged with the leading car-hailing company from the United States. It was the new domestic giant of online car-hailing. It had more than 90% of the national market share and was valued at more than $40 billion. How could such a big company be a small one? Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu, who were watching Lu Xiaoyang make the phone call, felt very uncomfortable. Isn't it an endorsement contract? But face, do you have to be like this? Can't you just let us watch you make the phone call? What the F***CK? Don't you know about online? The phone number is... Chen Guang ignored him. He just wanted to quickly finish talking about this so he could sleep. He had drunk a little too much. Tomorrow morning, he had to rush to some unknown military base. He had to sleep early. Okay, Chief Chen, please continue. 386 Heavy Industries. That's right. It's the 386 Heavy Industries that you know. They have a new product. What is it called? It's a handheld pile driver. They want me to endorse it. 386 Heavy Industries was one of the leading companies in the country. It was rumored that it had a very powerful background. Lu Xiaoyang felt that his brain was going to freeze. Chief Chin, did you eat chicken blood today? Where the hell did you get these contracts from? What did you tell them? How much blood and tears did you have to pay to get in touch with the people in charge of these companies? By the way, why did you, an internet celebrity, endorse a pile driver? Forget it. Don't worry about the details. Old you and old Fong, don't ask me why I am kneeling on the floor to answer the phone. Finally, after a few minutes, Chen Guang finished reading all the business cards. As for the endorsement amount, he really didn't remember it. There were more than 20 people at the table, and more than 10 of them had come together to talk about this and that. There were too many numbers. Besides, he had drunk a lot, so it would be strange for him to remember. On the other side, Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu couldn't sit still anymore. Lu Xiaoliang was kneeling by the tea table, writing the company name and the contact number of the person in charge. Does this mean that Chief Chen has signed more than 10 endorsement contracts from this morning to this afternoon? And all of them are these companies. Fang Tianyu couldn't believe it. Yu Hong wasn't much better. It wasn't that he hadn't seen geniuses doing business before. After all, he had been with Tang Xiaokai for many years. Tang Xiaokai could also be regarded as a representative of the young talents who had risen at the speed of light in recent years. He was also quite famous in the world. But Yu Hong really hadn't seen anyone who could run a company like Chen Guang. He was completely unreasonable and had no tricks at all. Obviously, everyone was disheartened at the beginning and didn't know if they could survive tomorrow. In the end, he turned around and slapped himself in the face. He had done such a mass endorsement thing. What kind of companies were these? What kind of endorsements? Thinking about the second-tier shampoo, third-tier keyboard and mouse, third-tier laptop, oh yes, and the red cucumber mobile phone, which was the kind of popular endorsement model of the 1,000 yuan mobile phone. It was on a completely different level from Chief Chen's, okay? All of them were the giants of the industry. Online taxi booking, alright, let's not talk about this. I heard that Chief Chen used to run an online taxi. It was very suitable and tailor-made. The pile driver of the 386 heavy industry started to make trouble. The facial mask of the luxury skin care brand of Tiange Dream Group. What? The electronically synthesized voice of AED. He remembered that when he was driving in the future, Chen Guang's voice would be heard from the GPS, turn left at the intersection ahead, turn left, turn left, turn left again. Hello, dear driver, I was just talking nonsense. Come and hit me. Yu Hong threw this scary thought out. What drove him crazy was that there was a fashion brand that even had Chen Guang as their spokesperson. If he didn't remember incorrectly, that brand specialized in the market of young girls, and most of their clothing was for young girls. So they're getting their Mr. Chen to be their spokesperson. Although you are also the industry leader, isn't your taste a little too heavy? With the above comparison, this investment company that mainly focused on the hotel business was too harmonious. Everyone, what should we do about this? Should we accept all the contracts that Chief Chen asked us to accept? Lu Xiaoliang asked anxiously. Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu looked at each other. Since these were all endorsement contracts arranged by Chief Chen, how could they not accept them? Accept all of them. Of course, the three of them quickly understood on the second day that they had no reason to reject these contracts. Chen Guang had asked them to squander money. But only one day had passed, and they had not spent a single cent, but they had earned a whole basket of endorsement contracts. Yet, these people's asking prices were so high that it was impossible to reject them. Yu Hong felt that Chen Guang could even accept the 20 million a year contract, let alone the clothes for young girls. Even if it was baby diapers, he would accept it. Also, the other party was really enthusiastic, okay? He was still in the middle of negotiating the contracts, and the other companies actually came to him on their own. The ones who came were all the CEOs. And not just in name only. Although these CEOs were very young, they seemed to have a lot of say in their respective companies. If they said they wanted to, they would do it without any hesitation. In one morning, a total of 12 contracts were negotiated. All the endorsement fees added up to 150 million a year. On average, each of them earned more than 10 million a year. Looking at the conditions of these people, how was this King endorsement? This was obviously giving away money, okay? Our Chief Chen was just an internet celebrity, not a world-renowned Oscar winner. At noon, the three of them walked out of the company's headquarters and looked at each other. Their worldview was still collapsing. "I'm starting to doubt my life," Lu Xiaoliang said. Yu Hong nodded. "Maybe we can't keep up with Chief Chen's pace and thinking." Fong Tianyu felt very sad. He had not even warmed his position as the marketing manager, and he had not even understood the situation, but Chief Chen had already done all his work. Even Tang Xiaokai, who was far away overseas, could not sit still, let alone the three of them. He had taken out the money from the investment in Tianguang Brokerage Company. He had only followed the instructions from the higher-ups to let Tianguang squander as much as he wanted. Why was the money getting squandered so much? However, Tang Xiaokai was not someone who did not know what was good for him. It belonged to whoever it belonged to. Although Tianguang Brokerage Company had 50% of his shares, the endorsement fees were all negotiated by Tianguang himself. To put it bluntly, even without Tianguang Brokerage, the money would still be in Tianguang's pocket. Although Tang Xiaokai did things in a Westerner's way overseas, he was also proficient in the ways of the world in China. This money could not be transferred into the company's account with a clear conscience, and half of it was out of thin air. Tang Xiaokai did not lack this bit of money. More importantly, even if Tianguang did not say that he did not care, he would not take advantage of this. Tianguang Brokerage Company was a task assigned by the higher-ups. If he really relied on this to earn money, it would be too troublesome. Yu Hong, you have to remember that you are now under Tianguang Brokerage Company. You have to be responsible for all the shareholders of Tianguang Brokerage Company, and you are no longer a subordinate of my Tang Jia Foundation. You know how to handle this matter, right? I will send someone from the Tang Jia Foundation over. If Tianguang has no other arrangements for this endorsement fee, treat it as financing into the company. The shares will fluctuate according to the changes in the funds. In short, you must make Tianguang satisfied and approve of it. Tang Xiaokai instructed. Yu Hong was clear. Actually, when Tianguang chose to call Lu Xiaoliang first to tell him about this matter, he understood everything. Even until now, he had not understood Tianguang's style of doing things, nor did he know what Tianguang Brokerage Company would be like in the future. However, Yu Hong felt that it was time for him to have a clear position in his heart. Alright, not to mention anything else, just based on his terrifying ability to earn money. This company still had to be run. Tianguang did not have the time to care about the matters outside. After hiding for many days, the individual military exercise that the old men had been secretly preparing for finally began on this day. It was very abrupt and many people did not even have the time to react. They might have been summoned to Beijing for various reasons and were supposed to attend this or that important meeting today. However, when they opened their eyes, they received this sudden news. They were startled and sleepy. After a simple tidying up, they sat in the special car that came to pick them up. The location of the individual military exercise this time was not Shun's special training camp, but a top-secret base that was about 100 kilometers north of Beijing. Around morning, from the West Mountain Villa district of Beijing to the base, more than 100 kilometers of the road was completely cordoned off. The long motorcade drove out of Beijing in the morning fog, and the air was filled with a cold and murderous aura. The car that Chen Guang was sitting in was about in the middle of the motorcade. In front of him were the cars of those old men, and in the motorcade were the current leaders of the major provinces in the country. Chen Guang even vaguely saw Secretary Ma of the Duchuan province squeezing into the crowd and climbing into a minibus behind him. In a sense, the seat he was sitting in was more important than Secretary Ma's seat, which made him feel like he was sitting on pins and needles. Some of the internal strength martial artists who had received the news in advance, after careful consideration, decided to stand up and participate in this exercise, while some declined politely and preferred to continue hiding in the dark. At this time, there were benefits to standing up. Once the old men finally won and gained the upper hand, they could participate in this military exercise as defectors. Needless to say, the benefits in the future would be obvious. However, if they lost, it might be difficult for them to establish a foothold in Jianghu. If they didn't stand up, the benefits in the future might be less, but they would not be wiped out. Of course, the other people who had received invitations only to see this country, the new weapon that was the pinnacle of this era. In reality, the sects that were going to be beaten down had sent people over. No one wanted to die without knowing why. More or less, someone had to be sent over to see what the new weapon that could make those old men so courageous looked like. Next, whether they should repeat what they had done before and use the high and mighty methods that they were so proud of to beat the tiger in the mountain, or put away their former arrogance and lower their noble heads, they had to think carefully. The inheritance of the sects was very important. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no one was willing to fight to the death. Of course, there would definitely be people who had secretly defected and reached an agreement, but on the surface, they were still mixed in with the other forces that had been invited to watch the ceremony, witnessing the current leaders flaunting their power and being beaten down together with the others. Between you and me, who was a friend and who was a foe, it all depended on a single thought. Now, everyone was most curious and concerned about who the representatives of the 3 aristocratic families, 8 sects, and 27 sects in the Jianghu would send, and how these people would express their stance. Now, the conflict between the Wen family, Poison sect, and Dark sect had completely erupted. It was said that the Wen family's sect leader would be there personally. If Poison sect and Dark sect came as well, who knew what would happen when the two forces met? Why? Did Ouyang Tianqing say that he's not coming? In the car in the middle, an old man mumbled softly. Humph. This guy is too powerful. Does he think that we can't do anything to him if he doesn't come? Jiang Yage's grandfather said angrily. However, old Master Jean shook his head slightly. If it were me, I wouldn't come either. Indeed. Ouyang Tianqing has been the director of the Special Affairs Bureau for many years. He knows how we do things. He knows that since we're going to expose this matter, we must have a plan. At the very least, we have the determination and ability to perish together. He definitely won't dare to come. The old man in the middle had a penetrating gleam in his eyes. What about now? Another old man asked. It doesn't matter if he comes or not. As long as everything goes according to plan for today's military exercise, we'll immediately start cutting the Special Affairs Bureau and make Ouyang Tianqing report to the capital. We have to spread the word that it's up to him whether he comes or not, and which side he'll lean towards. He's getting cocky at the wrong time, and he wants to be promoted. What a fool's dream. No, he's not being cocky. He's always been like this. It's our wishful thinking. Driving the wolf to devour the tiger is ultimately our wishful thinking. The wolf, the tiger, and the leopard are of the same origin. Only by strengthening ourselves is the foundation of a country. We're already strong enough now. However, we have to be prepared. Cornered dogs will always bite off a few pieces of meat from old bones like us. The old man's words were filled with determination. Let's do it. I, old Jiang, am not afraid of anyone. That's right. I may be old, but I dare to go into battle with my sword. Old leaders, I, old Tan, am a messenger, Tan Xiaohua said weakly. F*CKU. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.